Greetings, my fellow Americans. I am your president speaking, the 40th president, Samuel Ronan, and I lost track of time stuffing my face before stream. I apologize for the tardiness. And yes, pop culture with the introduction. Good evening, the one and only president that tells it like it is without BS lies. The one and only president that can save this country. Yeah, sorry. And then, of course, the software didn't actually want to load. So, anyway, on that note, we are here. Welcome, Anna. Or over there, Anna. Thank you. And we are ready to go. I'm trying out different shirts. Although I guess this kind of does look a little silly now that I'm seeing it with the button up. Well, it's a polo. It's not a button up. But anyway, we're gonna figure this out. We are gonna be covering global news today. A lot of international nonsense, and of course, with Trump trying to egg on international trade problems with tariffs and threatening South America, and so there is definitely a lot to cover today. So we will get right into that. All right, here. Forgot which screen I needed. So, the India calls for boycott of American goods, secondary sanctions. Trump is offering $5,000 for Gazans to leave rather than, stop Israel from committing genocide. Just straight up fuckery. Revokes visas for Palestinian officials, but then offers them $5,000. Like just so much fuckery, just absolute fuckery, and yeah, that's what we get to jump into. So I think we're going to be going quickly into
copy paste,
the
resize,
rebel
format,
flag
review.
here.
Mess one thing up, start over. It took forever. Now I use.
From McDonald's and Coca-Cola to Apple and Amazon, giant US brands are facing calls for a boycott in India. It's a protest against Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian goods, with business executives and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's supporters stoking anti-American sentiment. India's a key growth market for American companies.
That's nuts. Could you imagine going to India for McDonald's? Like, that's crazy to me. I just never would have thought McDonald's was in India. Like, because McDonald's just screams America. And yeah, you have McDonald's in Europe and places like that too, but it's usually considered a novelty. This is American food. I don't know why it never, yeah, Japan has McDonald's. Yeah, I guess India should have had McDonald's too. And you're right, pop culture, $5,000 to go live somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. $5,000 is not affordable for anywhere. And what, they're going to come to America with $5,000 or just fuck off to some other country for $5,000? Either way, $5,000 doesn't get you very much. Well, Puerto Rico is America. It's a territory, so that checks.
With increasingly affluent consumers often associating international brands with moving up in life. The world's most populous nation, for example, has more Domino's restaurants than any other brand. Drinks like Pepsi and Coca-Cola often dominate store shelves too. And people still queue up when an Apple store opens or a Starbucks cafe gives out discounts. Despite no immediate indication of sales being hit, there's a growing narrative to buy local instead. It's rattled exporters and damaged ties between New Delhi and Washington.
Isn't that beginning to impact us too, though? Like all these tariffs and the lack of our ports being full?
And on Sunday, Modi made a special appeal for becoming self-reliant. McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Amazon and Apple did not immediately respond to Reuters' queries.
See, this is the thing, though. India has 1.2 or 3 billion people and a growing, thriving tech center. Like, and their industry is growing. Like, Indian-made stuff is on the rise, and it's not hard to reverse engineer a cell phone, a cheeseburger, or Coca-Cola. I mean, my God, we have generic brands of that stuff here in America. So the call for boycotting American goods because of this administration is going to lead to international innovation on American goods. And then we are going to be cut out entirely. They're not going to need Coca-Cola. They're not going to need McDonald's because they're going to be able to provide their own. And then whatever Coca-Cola or McDonald's or Apple or Amazon or Starbucks exists will be truly a novelty item, much like if we go to an Indian restaurant here in the States. Like, you would travel to a big city and you'd go to an authentic Indian restaurant or an authentic Chinese restaurant or authentic Japanese, because it's a novelty and you expect to spend a little extra for it. So I think that's what's going to start happening, especially if Trump survives for too much longer. The world is going to just divest itself of America altogether, because then they don't have to deal with us. Specifically him, but you get the idea. Let's jump right into this.
Christ.
This is super
I
fucking
had to record
quiet.
this because I've just read the news story coming from the Washington Post that Donald Trump is going to offer Palestinians $5,000 to move. He's also going to offer 4 years worth of subsidies to rent and enough food for a year, so that America can then take ownership of the Gaza Strip for 10 years and rebuild it in whichever way they want. Of course, also in there, aiding and abetting in this proposal is Tony Blair, the most satanic, money-orientated genocider known to man, giving everything an air of sort of
I don't know. I
respectability.
think Netanyahu's
This is
the
proposal
worst.
that's going to come out of the White House. This is a document that's doing the rounds at the White House and in Washington. A 25-page document, $5,000, 4 years worth of rent, a year's worth of food, and the possibility in 10 years' time of coming back into the Gaza Strip. But you'll have to redeem a digital token in order to live there.
What the fuck?
We are one of the
all of that's insane, but I actually found the article, and it is it's the Independent first post, CNBC, the Times, everybody's reporting on this. And the plan would also see Gaza divided by a new MBS highway named to honor Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and another major road built in honor of the UAE's President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The Great Trust Blueprint was reportedly drawn up in April by the Boston Consulting Group, which is run by Israeli-American businessman Michael Eisenberg and Liren Tankman, a former Israeli military intelligence officer. So, even if Trump is the one parroting it, it was created by Israel, who claimed to have taken inspiration from Georges Eugene Haussmann's redesign of Paris in the 19th century. The venture reportedly would be undertaken without U.S. government funding and instead be paid for by joint public and private sector investments, with Israel maintaining its overarching rights to meet its security needs. Should the plan ultimately be chosen, it could face opposition from Israel's Arab neighbor states. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have both publicly backed a $53 billion alternative dubbed the Egypt Plan, which would similarly see the region massively redeveloped but without requiring the removal of its current residents. That latter part isn't in this particular article, but he said it was in the Washington Post. The Washington Post article, those who own land would be offered a digital token by the trust in exchange for rights to redevelop their property to be used to finance a new life elsewhere, or eventually redeemed for an apartment in one of 6 to 8 new AI-powered smart cities to be built in Gaza. Each Palestinian who chooses to leave would be given a $5,000 cash payment and subsidies to cover 4 years of rent elsewhere, as well as a year of food. Like that is 100% the article in the Washington Post. And
to the status quo.
Shush. Just so you guys don't doubt that I'm making this shit up, here is the article. And it's paywalled? Are you fucking serious? I didn't have to do this to read it on my screen. Well, damn. That's not a good example then, is it? I don't know how to share screen without, like, giving away too much about. Anyway, it is literally in this article, and it is paywalled, unfortunately. unless you input an email. So, all that to say, disgusting. Like, hey, we're going to bribe the starving, desperate masses who are being currently genocided by Israel to leave so that we can do the thing that we wanted to do anyway. Remember a few months ago when, actually back in 2024, when Jared Kushner had just first proposed this, and, well, we immediately jumped on it and saying that this was the most heinous jackal on the planet. But everybody was like, oh, it's just a hoax, it's a hoax. They're not going to actually do that. Well, September 3rd, 2025, they are actually in the process of doing that. And they're going to cap the trust. The plan estimates that every individual departure from Gaza would save the trust $23,000, compared with the cost of temporary housing and what it calls life support services in the secure zones for those who stay. So it not only is in the process of happening, they're already trying to figure out ways to save money in implementing it. And again, this was the proposal by the Israeli billionaire and former, minister of something or another? Military intelligence, my bad. So the former Israeli CIA and a billionaire. So yeah, this is absolutely vile. Vile that our government is going to be complicit in facilitating this atrocity. So I keep saying it this way, though. The more crimes and the more atrocities that are committed between now and the time that I'm sitting in this office live, just means that is going to be how many more charges can be leveraged against any surviving member of this administration here and abroad. So I say here and abroad because I want to include foreign prime ministers and leaders as well in the tribunals that'll be happening, because I will personally call for them. I will personally call for the arrest and trial of every single world leader, member of their parliament that aided and abetted Israel and didn't actively condemn them, which is literally every single one of them. There has not been, not China, not Russia, right? Like, every fucking world leader that is currently in a position of authority or power is refusing to lift a fucking finger against Israel or against America or against Europe to do this. And the only people that are the protesters, and they are being treated like terrorists. So as far as I'm concerned, every single living world leader right now that has done nothing to stop this, has not done lifted a single finger whatsoever to put an end to this genocide, should be sent straight to the fucking Hague. Now, I can only control what happens in my country, but I will definitely call for it in every other country as well. So moving right along, I guess. Tourism hub, huh?
So if I turned off
Which is
tomorrow,
still
I would
evil.
need to
Like,
double my.
Let's go.
Is there a
That would be like creating Auschwitz as a tourism hotspot. Which, granted, Auschwitz is considered a tourist destination, but in the sense of like a very what's the word I want to look for? A historical and somber tourist destination, a place of much death and solemnity, right? Like, so a place to go for respect, to pay respects, and to remember what has occurred. This motherfucker wants to turn Gaza into fucking Vegas.
Reporting the Trump administration is serious about turning Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East, turning that enclave into a tourist resort. New from the Washington Post today, discussions are underway between the administration and international partners to make that a reality for the future.
How fucking evil is that statement? The Trump administration is in talks with international partners to turn Palestine, which is an active war zone, where its population are being actively starved, where they are being genocided against. The American administration regime is going to be partnering with international folks to turn that location, currently suffering genocide and starvation, into the Riviera of the Middle East. That's diabolical. That's just straight up diabolical.
Let's go back in time to the president's words in February about this very thing. Watch.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings.
You mean the homes and corpses of an entire people? The entire history and land and cities and institutions and infrastructure of an entire society? Those buildings? Again, pure fucking evil. And this was in February, which wasn't even 30 days into his administration.
So that statement came during a news conference, as you could just see there, following President Trump's meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Just as a reminder, at the time, Mr. Netanyahu said the idea should be considered. Apparently it is. So let's go live to Jerusalem and CBS News contributor Robert Berger. So, Robert, you heard the president say it there, we'll own it. Walk us through this plan as reported by the Washington Post journalists.
Right. According to the Washington Post, Gaza would become a trusteeship run by the United States for the next 10 years. And the idea is to create a tourism and high-tech hub along the Mediterranean. Now, here's the rub. According to the plan, nearly all the 2 million Palestinians in Gaza would have to be relocated, taken out of Gaza and moved.
First of all, there aren't 2 million people left in Gaza. We're going to find out that there's maybe 1 million left. Maybe 1.2 million. We'd be fucking lucky if there's 7 figures worth of Palestinians who, by the way, according to genetics and all the other fun stuff, have more genealogical history with the Semitic tribes of ancient Israel than the Israelis that are currently committing the genocide. Meaning, Palestinians are the one true, actual Israelite people from the Bible. Let's just be very clear. The Palestinians are the biblical Israelites. And Israel is a colonizing state that has gone out of its way to erase history and eradicate the actual true Israelites. Now, if we want to take that a step further, in the Revelations during the apocalypse, right? Israel will be killed. The Israeli people will be sacrificed or slaughtered, right? Guess what? That's the Palestinians. In that sense, Revelations is coming to pass before our very eyes. I don't know if somebody knows which biblical passage that is. I don't know if it's like chapter 3, verse 17 or something. I don't know that. But what I do know is that the people of Israel will be slaughtered in fire. And it will usher in the end times. And Israel, the colonizing, occupying state, is the one doing it. And they are not the Semitic people of Israel. That would actually, literally, genetically be the Palestinians. Just want to fucking throw that out there. So let's carry on.
Somewhere else. And there's actually financial incentives, $5,000 to any Palestinian wishing to leave. That's a lot of money in Gaza. And also rent covered abroad for the next 4 years. One thing that isn't clear is where all of these Palestinians would go. One thing that in the report says that it would not be the United States.
So,
which is also fucking ballsy to say, hey, we will pay you to fuck off out of your home, your land, your territory, your historical homeland, but you can't come to America. What the flying fuck is that shit? Also, Israelis and American soldiers are murdering Palestinians who go to the established aid sites for food. So if they sign up for this, are they going to be executed on site for asking for the $5,000? Are they going to be relocated? Because again, Israel itself, Netanyahu and prime ministers have all declared that they want to erase and eradicate every single man, woman, and child of Palestine. So what's going to happen? They're going to go in helicopters and then get dumped off into the ocean? Are they going to be driven to airports and taken elsewhere and then never arrive at their home destination? Like, This is just ethnic cleansing by trying to make it be behind closed doors with a veil of philanthropy. And again, I do not want this plan to succeed, and I do not want to have to punish it 3-4 years from now. I want the fighting to stop, and I want the people of Western society to hold their governments accountable. But what's going to happen is Western media is going to get a hold of this, and they're going to make that the story instead of holding Netanyahu and Israel accountable for genocide. And that's going to be a huge fucking problem.
The question is, how do they get this done, even if there is a stomach for it? Because this is not a territory the United States owns, and yet the president said, we'll own it.
Yeah, implementing this is going to be very difficult. I mean, moving 2 million people out of Gaza, but already a huge portion of the Gaza population has already been displaced. And now Israel is conducting a major operation in Gaza City and wants to move another 800,000 people at least further south. So what's happening is Gazans are being moved into one part of the territory that was already extremely small. And then if and when the war ends, they would have to be moved somewhere else. And the conditions really aren't very good for them to go anywhere else. Gaza has been completely destroyed. So from the U.S. and Israeli point of view, Israel certainly supports this idea of what it calls voluntary relocation, kind of.
But that's just like America giving immigrants the opportunity to self-deport and then ending up in concentration camps or trafficked to El Salvador. We've already had this conversation. It's literally taking the same attempt that has been done here in America. If you're an immigrant, go ahead and sign up for this app and we'll send you back to your country. And instead, they end up in ICE detention centers, in prison, separated from their families, and sent to some other fucking country at worst. So, explain to me how this bait and switch isn't going to be applied in Gaza. Explain to me how the Gazans are expected to believe that is going to happen. Unbelievable. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Thinking outside of the box, but outside of the U.S. and Israel, virtually everyone else is opposed to this idea. They call it a war crime.
Yeah,
well, and we've heard from some of those UN member nations saying that they want a two-state solution. So this plan seems to be in direct conflict with what many European nations seem to want. Gotta also ask you about some new reporting about an Israeli.
And this fucking douchebag doesn't even ask the question about, oh, why would it be a war crime? As a follow-up, doesn't even address the fact that this man called it the war crime that it was. Unfucking believable, guys. We are barely 26 minutes into this stream because I was a little bit late. And I'm already rifled up and cigared up. Unbelievable. I don't think there's any reason to continue this. We'll go ahead and get angry with this next video as well.
Get more for less with Tim Hortons
and then,
$1.
We'll try and find a different topic.
Of the Palestinian people. Earlier this week, Saudi Arabia and France called on countries at the United Nations to support the declaration.
In a significant move, just weeks before the United Nations General Assembly, the United States has announced it is denying and revoking visas for members of the Palestinian Authority and the Palestine Liberation Organization. The decision, aimed at holding Palestinian leadership accountable for what Washington calls a failure to meet peace commitments, has drawn...
Are you fucking serious? Israel is the one that continues to destroy and undermine negotiations. And they're going to blame that solely... See, this is the fucking...
attention from international observers and Palestinian officials. The announcement was made on August 29th by the U.S. State Department.
In accordance with U.S. law, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is denying and revoking visas from members of the Palestine Liberation Organization, TPLO, and the Palestinian Authority, PA, ahead of the upcoming United Nations General Assembly. The Trump administration has been clear. It is in our national security interest to hold
there is no version of what we are doing as a country that we are the good guys in any of this. We are actively making it harder to put an end to this genocide, and we are silencing one half, the victims. We are silencing the victims of genocide on top of everything else by denying them the ability to be heard and to be seen and to arrive at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The war crimes that are being committed by this country and this administration are breathtaking. And they blame Palestine. I mean, granted, they blame victims anyway, right? All of the Epstein victims, they're the ones that actually committed the crimes, you know, as 13-year-old rape victims. So yeah, I think that's about... What is this? That ass clown was going to host terrorists at one of his palaces during 2017 to 2021. Right. That's... If there's any question or doubt where the loyalties of this administration lies, it is definitely not with the people or the innocent or actual victims. What is this?
Hamas murdered thousands of people.
So what does that mean?
That Hamas is a terrorist organization for murdering innocent children and civilians.
How many civilians have been killed in this war?
The war is a tragedy, but
90%
again,
of them
you're
have been
suggesting that
they've killed journalists.
People have been killed in a war. It's been a tragedy.
They've killed people waiting for aid.
But you're suggesting that it is the policy of the Israeli government to murder civilians, and
it is. It 100% is the policy of Israel to murder children. It has been corroborated. It has been definitively proven that is, in fact, the actual goal, the actual instruction of the Israeli government and military. It is definitively true. Okay, so Richie Torres is this guy, and he is going to be an apologist for Israel and try and undermine Palestinians. I see. That's what this is.
That is a notion that I reject.
You gotta listen, man, you gotta be like a human being about this.
People who are dying in the war, which to me is a tragedy, because war is a tragedy.
Do you feel in your heart that this is what you're saying is right?
If you remove Hamas...
You don't actually think that.
I told you what I believe. Don't tell me what I believe. I've told you what I believe.
Why would you believe that?
Because there are people who see the world differently. I know it's a shock to you, but there are people who see the world differently for you.
The only thing that's shocking to me is that this guy is actually giving somebody like that a platform. We ban people on this channel for significantly less, on site, in fact. So I don't understand how that guy can even stomach listening to that shit. Granted, when I'm in Congress, on my way to the 48th presidency, when I'm in Congress, I know I'm going to have to listen to anti-Semitism, but the difference is I'm not hosting them. I'm not the one providing the platform. They happen to be Congress people or senators. And I get to shut them down on the congressional floor, on the debate stage, in the news right outside Capitol Hill, or flying back and forth to events. Then I can shut them down. But I will never, ever humor a Zionist on my platform. Never gonna fucking happen. Can my screen shift or... This dude you paused on is Richie Torres? No, this guy is apparently not Richie Torres. This guy must be Adam Friedland. Learning something that was hidden from me is hard, so I will spread false... Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not like Richie Torres is even trying to learn the history or the facts that are being revealed in real time. He's just parroting the party line. He's just parroting what Israel wants to be told to the masses. So Richie Torres doesn't believe shit. He's just spreading propaganda. Exactly. He belongs nowhere near Congress. Rand Paul thinks a gay person doesn't belong at the CDC. So they shouldn't be there. No, I agree. bigotry and anti-Semitism, which, as we have just described, the Palestinians are actually genetically linked to the Israelis of the Bible. So the only anti-Semitism that's occurring here is the Israeli government murdering Palestinians, the true ancestors, or whose true ancestors were the Israelites. Yeah. So
if you have disagreements,
this guy must be Richie Torres.
With the Israeli government, you should voice your criticism of the Israeli government, but there is no justification for intimidation or harassment against American Jews.
I'm telling you as a Jew right now that we are receiving a lot more hate because of what the people with the flag that has a Jewish star on are doing to other people right now.
That might be.
And I'm telling you, as a Jewish person, how painful it is for us to say, and it hurts my stomach to say this. So you're going to say, I disagree, that this is a genocide. And that hurts to say that a Jew could do that. It hurts because we grew up with learning about what hatred is. And the same year the state of Israel was established, in 1948, the world saw the Holocaust, and they established standards. And I just wonder, like, there's this fixation with kids at a school and two examples of people at a restaurant that there was banging.
Two examples. I mean, there are surveys on it.
Give me
read the ADL surveys on it.
Because read the ADL surveys, the surveys that are sponsored and funded by Israel. Yes, that one. Let's go.
It's hard for me to talk about this in public because you're being a dick. That's mean.
No, I'm not being mean. I'm just clear it's an emotional topic.
What have your interactions been?
What the fuck is wrong with Richie Torres? Like, that guy needs to seriously be removed from... Well, granted, a lot of people need to be removed from office because they are sociopaths. Like, this guy is a Jewish person claiming that he straight up is saying it hurts his soul to say that another Jewish person could be committing genocide against... genocide. Genocide against another person. That's insane. And Richie Torres is just trying to parrot the fucking talking point. The propaganda from the party line of Israel. Yeah, I don't think we need to watch this. I feel like we're platforming Richie Torres, and I don't like that. Jesus fucking Christ. How many people have Israel murdered in just a fucking week? This was a day ago. Like this, like, what the flying fuck?
In Yemen, thousands of mourners attended a funeral today for 12 senior Houthi figures who were killed by Israel in an airstrike Thursday. The dead included the Houthi Prime Minister, Ahmed Ghaleb al-Rahoui. The Houthi military leadership that holds most decision-making power was not targeted. Israel's previously targeted Houthi ports and infrastructure. The Iran-backed Houthi rebels began launching missiles at Israel, most of which have been intercepted, and attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea after the start of Israel's war on Gaza in what they have called actions in solidarity with the Palestinian people. The Houthis have controlled Sana'a and much of northern Yemen since 2014. This is Omar al-Bukaiti, Houthi Deputy Minister of Information.
Our message today to those inside and abroad is a message of challenge and steadfastness, and that we are standing side by side with our revolutionary and political leadership. We present a convoy of martyrs to join the ranks of the martyrs of the leadership of the government of change and construction. Many have gone and many will come. We will make sacrifices for the sake of the cause, for the sake of the challenge, for the sake of the steadfastness with our brothers in the Gaza Strip.
Meanwhile,
Israel is going out of its way to murder world leaders now and still claiming self-defense while committing an act of genocide and still claiming self-defense and getting the entire fucking Western world to go along with it. For 2 years, we've been watching a genocide unfold before our very eyes in 4K, And Israel keeps parroting that it is self-defense, and Western powers keep parroting that it's self-defense. Oh, now they're slowly condemning it because there's starvation, and pictures of starving children are making it into the news finally. But beyond that, none of these governments are doing a damn thing. War crimes all over the region. They will never believe genocide is being caused by Israelis until they actually get up close and personal. Except there have been. There have been Dutch and American leaders. I think there were German leaders. Like, there were European and American leaders that went to Israel, saw the bodies of Palestinians, looked at the Israelis in the face and said, nope, this is definitely not a genocide, and came right back. I believe we talked about this. How hard is it? I'm far from Israel and I know they're being shitty. Yeah, the guy was dressed like me. I noticed that. I was wondering for a while there if my patterns were correct on my keffiyeh, but it clearly was. Welcome to the stream, Apolitical. I just realized we're doing worldwide, and I don't have my microphone on for any foreign listeners. And it's good to know that you weren't one of them.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to continue the retaliation campaign against the Houthis. He addressed the Israeli Security Cabinet on Sunday.
The Houthi terror regime is learning the hard way that it is paying and will continue to pay a very heavy price for its aggression against the state of Israel.
What aggression? They are literally doing nothing to Israel. Like, there is no border skirmishes. They're not attacking the blockades. They're not even breaking the airspace of Israel to do airdrops. They're just literally saying, you can't murder the Palestinians that are in our territory already. And that's a threat?
Whoever attacks us, we attack them. Whoever plans to attack us, we attack them. I believe
Whoever plans to attack us, we attack them. That is a war. Like you can't preemptively attack countries. That you can defend yourself in war, but you can never initiate the war. That's literally international law.
The entire region is learning about the strength and determination of the state of Israel.
To discuss this and more, we go to Rami Khouri. He is a Palestinian-American journalist who's covered the Middle East for 5 decades. Distinguished.
Even his voice is evil? I know. His suit is literally paid for on the blood of the people he murders? It is. I'm not talking about soulless liars that play fast and loose with the truth. The ones like, Mace? Do you mean Marco? Getting upset over Epstein stuff, and apparently she's coming around to the truth. Yeah, I don't know who you mean by Mace, but either which way, it is fucking insane. Just breathtakingly insane how cruel and vile all of these different national leaders are. Oh. Nancy Mace. Okay. That makes a bit more sense now.
Public Policy Fellow at the American University of Beirut, non-resident Senior Fellow at the Arab Center in Washington, D.C., joining us from Newton, Massachusetts. Rami, thanks so much for being with us. Can you talk about the significance of this Israeli strike on Yemen on Thursday, and who exactly was killed?
Well, thanks for having me. The strike was significant.
Listen, pop culture. I might just not be as in the know as I should be. All I am is flying my rebel flag with my props at this point in time, trying really hard not to crash out. I'm already down to one cup of water. I can definitely see a break in our future in the very near future.
Several ways. It's not a big deal that Israel is killing.
Oh, it's that bitch who finally got a piece of reality and couldn't fucking handle it, that she is actually a fucking horrible human. Because wasn't she then one of the most prominent figures who were trying to decry that the victims it was all a hoax to try and defame Trump? And then she actually heard them, and it's like, oh wow, I am the evil piece of garbage that they said I was.
Leaders in different Arab countries all around the region. They've been doing that for decades. it is significant that they are doing this now after there's been a bit of a lull in Yemeni attacks by Ansarullah, the Houthis. The Americans more or less pulled out of that war in Yemen. And now there is a big signal that Israel is sending that they're going to go after top leaders in any country that they feel threatens Israel.
Right. Any country that they feel threatened by, they're going to preemptively attack. So what's stopping them from attacking like Mongolia or some country in Africa? Aside from the fact that, you know, they don't have the means to do so, but realistically, Israel is not going to stop with the Middle East or yet like just its neighbors that it's currently attacking. It's not going to stop there. If they're going if they can get away with attacking countries in self-defense because they felt threatened, I feared for my life, and I started shooting, then they're definitely not going to stop with their neighbors. They're going to then push into Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan. Then they're going to push into Saudi Arabia. Then they're going to push into Turkey. And then they're going to work their way up into Southern Europe. And then they're going to take over fucking Europe and Russia. Unless people put a fucking stop to Israel and their bloodthirsty conquest delusions. That's what needs to fucking happen. I'm an attacker. Why be people attacking me first? Or, man, they're really angry about me attacking somebody else. I better attack them before they do something about it. Where's the fucking logic? It's exactly like when cops murder black people at a traffic stop and say, I feared for my life. How? Dude was in his vehicle with the seatbelt on. How the fuck did you fear for your life? You walked up to the vehicle and started blasting because they were black and because you knew you could get away with it, because the chances of you getting your body cam or their recordings released to the news is extremely slim. Even now, even with the George Floyds and even with all the other people who have been murdered, say her name, say their name, right? There have been countless murders by police against black people in America, and they still fucking get away with it. How is that any different? Israel is preemptively attacking other countries. Israel is offering a carrot to the Palestinians to leave so that they can kill them behind closed doors after giving the overture of humanitarian aid, while also simultaneously calling for their eradication on national television. It's beyond reprehensible. Exactly, they literally just killed the Houthi prime minister. Also, is the music on the previous screen too loud? Is it overpowering? I hope it's not overpowering.
So it's significant that they've done this. They know that the attacks haven't really impacted much in Yemen, in the sense that the people who were killed, even though they were senior officials, were not major decision-making people. The decisions in Yemen are really in the hands of the Political Leadership Council, which is headed by the head of the Ansarullah movement. And the people in the government, the prime minister, the defense minister, and others, carry out the policies that are set by this higher political council. So the impact is really to signal to the Yemenis and everybody else in the region that Israel will keep attacking anybody, will kill senior people. They don't care about any laws or reprisals. And this is a troubling fact, because it just means that endless war is one of the possibilities that we might face in this region.
And that's all that needs to be said about it. Endless war, which is literally outlined in this book, 1984. It wasn't about anything other than the war, the endless war, to justify the fascism, to justify everything that is being done to the people. Right here. This is literally political satire and commentary of the times that it was written in. And yet it is prophetic in nature, because the times that it was written in have only ever evolved and cemented itself into the fascism that we are experiencing today.
Pools of blood mark where the children were standing when the Israeli drones struck. They had been fetching water at these communal taps. This is Al-Mawasi, a barren strip of land in southwest Gaza, and the site of tens of thousands of tents housing families forced from their homes in the past 22 months.
These were children who were getting water, just kids. Look at this. See what they attacked. They attacked children, not fugitives. This is all what they had with them, nothing else. Are these what they consider to be missiles? They're children, for God's sake.
It's about a 6-kilometer drive from here to the only functional healthcare facility nearby, and the medics are rushing to save as many of these children as possible. The emergency room at Nasser Hospital is packed. Doctors start with the most severely injured, checking for signs of life. There's anguish from a father whose son needs help. Help that will come too late.
When I say that the Israeli government and people that have power and authority across the globe will be sent to The Hague, will face their trials, have their day in court, and then be put to the most heinous but legal death sentence that we can muster, it is literally because of that shit right there. And you know, on my own social media page, I shared the pictures of the classroom where kids were murdered by the shooter to kind of highlight the fact that, you know, school shootings look like a fucking war zone. But so many people were clutching their pearls. Don't put that on social media. Why would you show this to people? You're just traumatizing them. Because we need to fucking change and fucking wake up. We need to do something about these psychopaths that continue to allow the conditions to exist that perpetuates this system of violence. And because these sociopaths only understand violence, then beget it to them. Yes, I am 100% advocating for the death penalty and a very, very tilted trial process through the court of public opinion at best, so that we can parade these heinous monsters who have committed the most heinous of crimes by aiding and abetting and facilitating the material conditions that allow for mass shootings, for the genocide in Palestine, and the suffering of the global masses generally. They do deserve death. That is exactly why the death penalty exists. To erase those pieces of garbage from Earth. And quite frankly, perhaps even their bloodlines. Because you can't tell me that the wife or husband of these monsters aren't complicit. They could have divorced them ages ago. The children, okay, they might be innocent, so maybe we're not going to erase the entire bloodline. But every single adult that is participating, able-bodied and able-minded, no. They are getting the guillotine, they are getting the needle, they're getting the noose, they are getting something. Because this and this, oh, of course it's not going to let me. That is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. All of these frames could easily be graphics in a post to highlight the horrors of what is happening in Gaza. This right there was the equivalent of the meme that I sent about the shooting in that church school. That was the aftermath of that classroom, and people lost their fucking minds. This is happening every single fucking day by military airstrikes, by Israel's military targeting children, which is infinitely more heinous than a person who lost their fucking mind and killed a bunch of kids at school. This is a sanctioned military strike. It's an illegal military strike, but it was sanctioned by the Israeli military regardless. And that's what's left of children. That right there is what's left of children in Palestine who were gathering water, because the Israeli military ordered their deaths via drone strike. So no, I 100% advocate for the death penalty for every drone operator, every military commander, every soldier, every leader, every government official of Israel. They get the full Nazi Nuremberg treatment. And then every leader in Europe, America, Canada, I don't give a shit if Mexico hasn't stopped. Claudia Sheinbaum can get the fucking news too if she isn't doing something to actively stop this. If Mexico is still sending weapons to Israel, fuck you, Claudia. I don't care how many hospitals and colleges and homes you build for Mexicans. If you're still aiding and abetting this genocide, you can get all the way fucked as well. I don't know if she is, but if she is, she can get fucked. Good. Mexico's pro-Palestine. I'm just putting it out there into the world. There is nobody that I will fucking spare once this reality becomes the case. And by all means, this is going on my YouTube channel. So, September 3rd, 2025, Worldwide Wednesdays. Go ahead and fucking bookmark this shit. And then try and use it against me when I get into Congress. Like, oh, he's a terrorist. Oh, he's threatening world leaders. I'm not threatening them. I'm promising them. I am promising them a swift and abrupt end to their fascist behavior. And they should have been put to an end or removed from office long before I get into office. Like, the fact that they're still in office and their response to the protests is to use the military and their police forces to crush the protests is proof that they do not care. Because if they did care, they would be listening to the people instead of silencing them. And that's the fucking point. These idiots tell you LGBTQ should be grateful for living here because they are not in countries where murdering them is happening, all while supporting these murders by Israelis, and then telling you speaking out against that is anti-Semitic. Make it make sense. If it were possible to, right? But that's the thing. We are targeting queer people in America actively right now. Every single Republican is actively trying to push anti-trans laws, anti-LGBTQ laws, anti-women laws, and anti-immigration. They are targeting every single othered demographic in the country as we speak, while still purporting that it's safe to live here if you're queer, and therefore you should be grateful to be living in America. How can you function with the sheer amount of hypocrisy that you are spewing forth? How does your brain not short circuit jumping through those hoops, lying through your teeth on the one hand, and purporting and perpetuating bigotry and intolerance on the other? I don't understand how these people just don't short circuit. I don't get it. Bukele and Milei are the only Latin American leaders who I know support Israel, and Bukele is Palestinian, which makes him even more disgusting. Well, then no love lost there. How do you stop these kinds of terrorists without being one? And thank you for saying I'm not a terrorist. You're right, I'm not a terrorist, but to the victor goes the spoils. If I don't make it into the presidency and I get executed long before I make it into office, they can label me whatever the fuck they want because I'll be dead and can't defend myself. That being said, obviously protest isn't enough. Largely because there aren't enough protests. There aren't enough numbers in these protests, right? We need to have, instead of one 10,000 person strong protest, we need 10 1,000 member protests, and we need them all over the place. What we need is a saturation of protest that'll wear down the resources of the fascist army from being able to respond. Demoralize the enemy by wearing them out with our activism. That's one way. There's always the general strike. That's the second way. They can't finance fascism if they don't have finances. They will be terrorized. I mean, Anna makes a valid point. So I'm not trying to like trigger anybody here with this picture. But this is the reality that every Palestinian faces, and the response of our regime is to offer them $5,000 and a ticket out of Dodge and a promise that they can return in 10 years. When every single promise that has been made on their behalf has been broken by the very people who made the promises. Like, I wouldn't trust it either. Maybe there are desperate enough Palestinians that would take that offer, but we would find out almost immediately that they are getting killed, or they are getting sent to dangerous places, or that the promises are going to be reneged upon. Apolitical. Again, it's not the protest. There needs to be multiple smaller protests that are still large numbers happening simultaneously to spread thin the state's ability to actually react to them, right? Again, if there's 10,000 people in one location, there's still a barrier to that, and there's probably enough law enforcement and military to deal with it. But 1,000 groupings is unmanageable, and that's the point. That's the point. How can you actually be grateful for living here anyway? You have idiots like Kennedy, not RFK, who took his time on the floor of Congress to say, you'll look like the alien from Alien when it bursts through the guy's stomach if you eat that radioactive shrimp being shipped from here to other countries. He actually put the picture up to the poster board thing. Yeah, there's another Kennedy floating around that is making their family roll in their graves. So, yeah, not a wonderful time to be an American for certain. I mean, I don't think we need to really cover more of the trauma.
Welcome back to Verified Live. Let's turn to Beijing and the power play of images we've been seeing. The leaders of China and Russia have been meeting ahead of a huge military parade, which will take place tomorrow to mark 80 years since the end of the Second World War. President Putin said relations between the two countries had reached an unprecedented level. President Xi said their governments should strengthen their coordination on the world stage. Joining President Xi and Putin and more than 20 other leaders.
And honestly, the phrasing of that, it seriously looks like, or sounds like, that Russia and China are purposely manipulating the United States of America via Trump and this regime into sabotaging their presence on the world stage so that Russia and China can reclaim whatever they feel has been lost over time. And quite frankly, they're succeeding.
At Wednesday's spectacle will be the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in what is his first trip to China for 6 years and the first time he's ever attended an international gathering. Here's our China correspondent,
That's interesting.
Laura Bicker.
They invited the North Korean dictator? Okay.
Kim Jong-un is making his boldest diplomatic move in years. This is his signature armoured train moving through Beijing. China has not officially announced his arrival, but his motorcade was caught on camera in the capital. He's here to meet his two neighbours, who already had talks over tea, where Vladimir Putin touted his close ties with his friend Xi Jinping. The nature of Russia-China relations are at an unprecedentedly high level, he said.
I know.
The Russian leader may be by his side, but this is Mr. Xi's moment in the spotlight, a chance to showcase a new world order, one not led by the United States. This was a key embrace. The Indian Prime Minister, once a US ally, now hit with Donald Trump's trade tariffs, is moving closer to Beijing.
And again, if Trump was a Russian asset belonging to Russia, what would a Russian asset be doing any differently than this current regime than what it is doing right now? Again, Trump, whoops. Sorry, we're still here. We're still here. Stay tuned, damn it. Nope, stay. All right. Sorry about that. We have literally devastated every single diplomatic tie we have ever established over the course of our nation's history in 8 months. We have destroyed our relationships with Europe, Latin America, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and our actual neighbors, Canada and Mexico. We have devastated all of them. Absolutely every single fucking one of them. And who is there to pick up the pieces? China and Russia. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that China and Russia are our enemies. I could give a shit less about that rhetoric. But the reality is, Trump is sabotaging American influence and presence on the world stage. That is a fact. America is shooting itself in the foot, left, right, and center. And Russia and China are left to pick up the pieces. And now India is entering the fray as well. Just saying. Just saying. Right. Name 5 countries that like the USA right now. I can only think of one, and that's Israel. And I don't even think Israel likes America. Israel is using America. So, which is a distinct difference.
3 were at a summit earlier this week, hosted by Mr. Xi, along with more than 20 other world leaders. But the biggest spectacle has yet to come. The final rehearsals for a parade to mark the end of the Second World War are now over. The city is ready for a grand display.
The parade is important. It will highlight the discipline of our soldiers, and their morale will be high.
The parade will showcase China's strength and let the world know we are a big country and we have power.
So to their point, no, military parades don't showcase power or strength. It shows that you're willing to waste resources on a military parade. Just like Eisenhower said, we would be lowering ourselves to do military spectacles that show off our weapons and our military. We have a powerful military, and we are the strongest nation because we are, and we are unchallenged in so doing. That's that. But the fact that they are so well suited and capable towards doing military parades makes you think, was that AI? And it's aesthetically pleasing, right? Our military parade looked like absolute dog shit. And I can tell you right now, as a former active duty service member, I would have never had to learn how to march in formation or participate in a formation unless I joined the Honor Guard, which I did, and even then it was in very, very small numbers when you would go out to do a detail. Most of the time the detail was like at a governor's office event or the county or the city or something, or you were doing a funeral for a fallen member. This level of precision, and with the numbers involved in the military that was there, we're talking hundreds and thousands of people. Like, that's the Chinese military's day-to-day, to do troop movements and to do parade-style troop movements on top of that. So it's a completely different ball game. Even as president, I would still, as a service member who quite enjoyed being in the Honor Guard, I would still never hold or host a military parade or military spectacle, because that is not who we are, and that is a waste of resources. One, if the world wants to believe America is tough and strong, then we need to act like leaders, not like bullies and trying to intimidate the shit out of everyone and burn every single bridge we have. That's not strength. That's weakness in the most true, pure form, and every single world leader realizes that. Secondly, nobody is going to join the military because they saw a bunch of service members goose-stepping down 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Like, people joined the military in the 90s and early thousands because the Godsmack Army recruitment video, that was the commercials. Because it was badass. It had a sick rock music and it was soldiers doing Call of Duty shit, right? That's why people enlisted. And it was also right after 9/11. Now, they can't even beg people to join the military because this generation is so disgusted with our government and our mission that they don't want to lower themselves by joining the military. And quite frankly, I'm disgusted. I wouldn't join this military either. Are you ready? Why would I lower myself to joining this military so I can be used as a political pawn to intimidate brown people, queer people, trans people, or worse, be sent to Palestine to murder children? No. Why the fuck would I do that? So no. Until or unless the mission of the United States starts being something that people can believe in and want to support, we're never going to have a strong military again or good recruitment numbers. We're just not. And that will be my job to fix. I expected more from the USA parade, to be honest. It could have been better than that. It very much so could have. It's not like the Army doesn't have neat shit. And it's not like the Army doesn't have their own honor guard teams, like the National Honor Guard team. It's not like they couldn't have made something of it, but some people say it was malicious compliance. But they could have simply not done it and held this president accountable, this dictator accountable. Let's see, and now they're doing the same with ICE recruitment videos. Exactly. That's exactly what they're doing, and it's probably working. On top of the $50,000 sign-on bonus. I did join the military under Obama, so unfortunately, I was very ignorant of U.S. and global politics at the time. So, unfortunately, I didn't have my political awakening until October 2013 during my first government shutdown, which occurred because Republicans didn't want to give Americans health care. And that was my awakening moment, like, oh, we are the bad guys. I am not serving my country. I am serving private interests. And then I did more and more research, and I found out, wow, America is a shithole. I need to do something about this. And then I entered into politics. Yeah, I wouldn't have... Right, the Biden administration wasn't really any better, especially because they were trying to send people to Palestine. And Kamala was campaigning on supporting Israel's genocide. So absolutely not. Definitely not. I used to think the USA were the defenders of the free world not too long ago. And that's the thing. It really sucks when you realize what you were raised to believe was a lie, or a figment, or propaganda. Once you come to that realization, it just really fucking hurts. It's like, wow, I thought we were doing something here. I thought we were accomplishing something here. And as it turns out, we were the monsters that we were warning others about. And we were the enemy. That is very depressing. All right, so Russia, China, and North Korea. Did not have that on my 2025 bingo card. And it looks like public opinion might be shifting at least. That's good. Oh, speaking of Israel. Do not use Wix. Wix is an Israeli company. BDS. Boycott Wix.
He's a political analyst and joins us live from Tel Aviv. We've just been hearing there, Akiva, that for many people in Gaza, it's an impossible choice between either death or complete desolation. I wonder if you can help us understand the sentiment in Israel as to how this wholesale dismantling of Gaza City is going so far. We know a ceasefire deal is still pending with the Israeli side. Is Netanyahu deliberately dragging his feet to allow further destruction and further starvation?
Well, I'm afraid that your question has a very simple answer. Yes, Netanyahu can live with that. More and more Israelis believe that we have now an authoritarian regime. The people around Netanyahu, even close people who disagree with him. And, their heart goes, first of all, to the families of the captives, to the Israeli soldiers that will be sacrificed in a war that nobody knows. Even, I think, if you ask Netanyahu himself, what's in it for us, let alone for our neighbors? And
all right, this is going to be a very boring interview, and I don't want to listen to it. But suffice to say, public opinion is shifting, just like public opinion has been shifting away from Trump. The problem is, despite public opinion shifting away from these sociopaths, these regimes, they're still in power, because the systems that could otherwise remove them are choosing not to. It is a failure to launch. It is a failure to act. It is complicity. And that's the fucking problem. That Trump is the least popular president in American history, and he is enacting his regime change unilaterally and with impunity without anyone getting in his way. Yeah, there are protests. Yeah, there are some Democrats who are, writing strongly worded letters. But fundamentally, nobody is doing anything to stop it. So it will continue to progress until the proverbial point of no return. But the reality is, once he dies, and he will die soon, hopefully, once he dies, that entire house of cards falls with him because he was the cult of personality driving it. That is the only saving grace. And the same thing with Netanyahu. Once Netanyahu's dead, Israel will probably fall back to not being as openly genocidal. Although it can very much so be argued that Israel has been committing genocide against Palestinians since 1948. Just escalating year after year after year. Let's see. By the way, for some levity, there is a video of a pro-Palestine comedian who made so much fun of Israel that some Zios walked out of a show. We can watch that at the end. No, we probably want to pick up on that now. Israel, political commentator, tough job. It's like a bad Google review is not going to stop it. Exactly. Trump is the least popular president at this point of his administration in history, yet they are talking about putting his face on Mount Rushmore. Right. And continuing to pass every single one of his policies, affirming every single one of his appointees. Like, for as much as people claim to hate him and not support what he's doing, they're doing nothing to stop or even hinder him. And that's the fucking problem. So, where's the, Oh, here's some good news.
As Palestinians in Gaza continue to cry out for a scrap of
food... Hold on, guys. That didn't go well. I said, here is some good news, and then immediately showed suffering Gazans. I meant the title. Trump says Israel is losing support in U.S. Congress. That's the good news. This right here is not good.
And the Israeli military's campaign on Gaza City rages on. The US president has admitted Israel is losing support, even from its most loyal supporters. The shocking admission featured on the Daily Caller, a right-wing opinion-based website founded by political commentator Tucker Carlson and political advisor Neil Patel. In the interview with Donald Trump published on Monday, the US president acknowledged he was aware of research carried out by the Pew Research Center that 53% of US adults had an unfavorable view of Israel, up from 42% in 2022, while 50% of young Republicans were unimpressed with Tel Aviv, up from 35%.
Good.
Trump says the Israel lobby was strongest 15 years ago, but now its influence in Congress is slipping.
Good! So the Israeli lobby, a foreign lobby's influence is slipping, meaning we are actively... Oh my God. We are actively reporting through syndicated news networks that the Israeli lobby, as a foreign entity, is influencing U.S. politicians to act on its behalf. That is treason. The hook, line, and sinker. Like, we are actually reporting on that as a factual, known, corroborated, unequivocal truth. So, once I'm in this office streaming live, right? Because we have to be from a off-site center right now. The repercussions are going to be biblical against this Congress. And quite frankly, any congressman that has been subject and adherent to the Israeli lobby. So, crazy.
They have to get that war over with, but it is hurting Israel. There's no question about it. They may be winning the war, but they're not winning the world of public relations, you know? And it is hurting them.
This is what is hurting Israel. Pictures of brutality, destruction and starvation that cannot be ignored.
We're living in a difficult situation. There is no food or drink despite the aid that is coming in. There are air aid drops, but we don't benefit from it.
But a real change in the enclave is unlikely until more in the US government scale back their support for Israel. Belgium has just become the latest nation pledging to recognise the state of Palestine at the upcoming UN General Assembly. In a post on social media, its foreign minister said Palestine will be recognised by Belgium and that firm sanctions will be imposed on the Israeli government. 147 of the UN's 193 member states currently recognise the state of Palestine. Belgium's decision comes after France said in July that it would formally recognise Palestine at the UN General Assembly in a...
What gets me is how can you formally recognize Palestine as a country when Palestine was a country to begin with? What do you mean recognize Palestine? They have been attacked this entire fucking time and colonized since 1948. What the actual fuck?
A week's time. Also in July, Canada, Australia and the UK declared they would too, with the foreign minister keeping up the pressure only this week.
It's a man-made famine in the 21st century. And I'm outraged by the Israeli government's refusal to allow in sufficient aid.
The humanitarian...
You know, and what kills me is, I don't know if he's just a bad public speaker, but like, if you're gonna read your speech, at least do a better job of it, because you sound so fucking disingenuous by saying, and now this phrase, and this phrase, and this phrase, I am disgusted. You sound so disingenuous. Like you are literally performing art of showing empathy. Like you are literally performing on a stage in the 5th grade. It's fucking pathetic.
By the Israeli government's refusal to allow in sufficient aid.
The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is still predicted to only get worse, but the cracks in support for Israel seem to be growing larger. Christina Sheech,
Good, it needs to
TRT
fucking
World.
Escalate.
Hey, stop
like,
playing with your family.
And accelerate. Oh, so the flotilla continues to move forward, but now weather has gotten in the way. I mean, this is world news, I suppose, but it's not political. Afghanistan suffered earthquake damage. That is a tragedy, but it's not political. Oh, sure. China's... maybe we are just going to head into World War III.
Or hair is out of place. But the sweat-covered faces of these Chinese soldiers reveal their strain. They've been rehearsing for hours under the hot sun in preparation for China's massive military parade.
The parade will carry forward the great spirit of that war, remember history, honor the fallen, cherish peace, and open up the future.
Yeah, look at the military. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't look cool. I'm not saying that these military things aren't cool in principle, but like they are an embarrassment of resources. Like it's an embarrassment of riches. Like you're going to parade your military and show off all of your shiny new toys, which only implies you want to use them. And why? Why do we want to continue to be aggressors in the 21st century?
Held to mark 80 years since the end of World War II, the event aims to showcase Beijing's military might and its latest weapons. 25 contingents of troops will march across Beijing's Tiananmen Square, alongside...
All right, I don't know how many is in a contingent. I know how many is in a group and a wing. Yeah, see, and I didn't think so. Contingents seem to be different depending on who's organizing them. I don't like using AI as the reference, but it seems as though it's anywhere from 600 to 1,800 personnel. So there were 15 contingents. So I mean, let's go to the high end. 15 times 18. Whoops, 15 times 18. So 27,000 soldiers. Now, in America, we have 3 million active duty soldiers. No, 1.6 million, I'm sorry. 1.6 million active duty soldiers. And at any given time, the honor guard total at every installation, if you took everybody who was in the honor guard, I still don't think it would be 27,000 people. And I think our actual military forces is still numerically larger than China's, which means, again, there is a broader emphasis on parade style exercises and activities in China than there is in America.
Advanced tanks, fighter jets, drones, military trucks, and hypersonic missiles. Some will be equipped with cutting-edge air defense and electronic jamming systems. Authorities have been preparing for weeks, locking down and redirecting traffic in parts of the capital.
As a Chinese person, I'm very proud of the military. I'm looking forward to seeing the latest weapons, especially...
But see, this is its own form of brainwashing and propaganda. Why are you so proud of the military? What do you gain from the military? Why do you fucking care about the military? Having a strong military is meant to be a deterrent. But when you're parading it around, it's okay. It's like taking all of the gun nuts in America and going to these damn gun shows. All they're doing is showing off what they would love to do, that they would love to shoot and use these guns. Look at all these guns that I have and the guns that I could use. That's all it is. It is a daydream of what could be. And that's a fucking problem. Like, say what you will about China, but trying to wax or wane poetic over the military is definitely brainwashing and propagandizing your population. Yeah, with a lot of practice, a lot of things look really cool. Sure, they don't go attacking people, but at the same time, they're not exactly not being aggressive on the world stage either. That's the thing, when we usually talk about China and Russia, it's them being the good guys, because compared to Trump, they are the good guys. But that doesn't mean that they themselves aren't being aggressive. Putin is currently actively waging war in Ukraine. So, like, they have really cool Russian military parades as well. That doesn't change the fact that they are using it, and they want to use it, and that they are trying to aggressively expand their territory and influence. China has been aggressively expanding its territory and influence economically, and now it's showing off that they can do it in the military as well. So, no, they're going to start pushing more and more and more with their military influence, as they do at sea. Most of what Chinese military aggression is used for is in the Yellow Sea, and it is quite substantial. It should only be used to defend people. Correct. And it just fucking... That's not how the military works. There are One Piece spoilers. Jeez. Devil fruits in the Yellow Sea. Is that what it is? Gum gum. Jeez.
Take a picture of the envelope.
Oh, did this just straight up restart? Cool. So... Okay, so Russia and China are starting a gas pipeline. That's great.
Hello, I'm Lucy Hawkins. Good to have you with us on...
Okay, wow. This headline. Trump says China, North Korea, and Russia are conspiring against the U.S. How can they conspire against America if they aren't friendly with America to begin with? And if that's the case, what is NATO, motherfucker? Hello? NATO is all of Europe and America, and I think Canada, conspiring against Russia. Literally.
On BBC News now. Let's take you back to our top story this hour, to China. They have held a massive military parade
clearly
in Beijing,
they are.
the biggest ever, unveiling what appears to be a new arsenal of high-tech weapons, celebrating the end of the Second World War in Asia. Our China correspondent, Steve McDonnell, has the latest for us.
So the parade is over here and we are seeing traffic return to the streets of Beijing. It's not as busy as a normal working day yet, but the city's starting to get back to normal. And now it's a time to reflect on what this was all about. Now, naturally, it was a parade to mark the end of World War II in Asia. But the Chinese government has also used it to show off its latest military kit. We've seen jets, helicopters.
I mean, those look really cool, like out of something from a sci-fi. But that's all it is. Because if those things start launching, World War III is off to the races. And to True Steel's point, I am all the way caught up on One Piece right now. Whatever's on Crunchyroll, I have watched it. I watched till like episode 700, and there's not a lot of peak in One Piece. Well, they're right, because it's a story that continuously grows and goes on. But I'm on episode 1100 something or another. They're trolling him. They want him to feel left out, which he clearly does. Look at the great party that we're having without you. You're not part of the cool kids club. And I don't think we have aircraft that looks like something out of an evil AI takeover. Because look at that fighter craft. I think that might be a bomber. The one that's right in front of us. I think that's a bomber. And then you have different styles of fighter craft behind it, plus the main drone, right? All of those look exactly like when the machines take over and become evil. Complete with the red tinted windows. Like, what the fuck? I mean, here we are trying to reinvent the Terminator, and these motherfuckers are already in Lost in Space territory. Corazon is my goat in One Piece. Why is Corazon not ringing a bell for me right now? Why? Okay, what? Oh, because he's Doffy, Don Quixote. All right. Thank you for that. Shows how much little cred I have in the anime world, apparently. I mean, evidently. You know how badly I keep losing my cred as a nerd? Because, like, all of this, the lore and information that I'm supposed to know, like that, it's being impeded by politics and stress. Because this fruit is making you dead silent. I mean, it do. It do.
Tanks, armored cars, underwater drones, lasers, intercontinental ballistic missiles. For this reason, some have questioned the event and said, really, should we be worried that this country might start using these weapons as it flexes its muscles on the world stage? Xi Jinping would say, no, you shouldn't be worried because this is actually peace through strength. Well, that's his argument anyway.
Yeah, that's what
Then
America's
there's the
been
political
saying
aspect
for
of
80
this.
years.
China's leader, with these other world leaders, including the likes of Kim Jong-un from North Korea and Vladimir Putin from Russia. Now, he's accused of being a war.
Why do all of these people walk like they have something up their ass? Every single one of these people are walking like they have something shoved up their ass. Like they don't walk on a regular basis at all and have forgotten how.
Criminal after invading Ukraine, and yet there they all are. It's a kind of challenge to the West, saying we don't care about your sanctions, we can gather like this. And the argument would be that the West's influence is in decline because of the collapse of the leadership of the United States under Donald Trump. The US is going it alone, it's putting tariffs on its allies. Here's Xi Jinping with a message of stability. You can rely on this country, and maybe it would be appealing to other countries. And yet others would say that really what Xi Jinping is doing is offering support to other authoritarian leaders. They might not mind.
Why not
though.
both?
There they all are up on Tiananmen Gate watching the parade going through. And yet some in China have also questioned, is this how their country should be portrayed to the rest of the world? Military parades in this day and age? Isn't it something out of the Cold War? What about the new China, the China of ideas? Whatever happened to that? And yet others, of course, especially those with a bit more of a nationalist bent, might love it. They might think, you know, people used to walk all over us. Now China fears no one, and look at all that equipment. Of course, for the Chinese government, if the worst from all of this is that others would fear them, maybe they'd take that, because one of the key messages from today is that you can't push China around anymore.
And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I understand why China is doing this. I even respect why they're doing it. I still say it's dumb, and I still say it is putting an image into the world that should be considered a threat. And yeah, partnering with Russia and North Korea and all that. Yes, obviously China is catering to authoritarian leaders. Obviously, because they have an authoritarian regime as well. Yeah, they're also succeeding in taking care of their people. They're also succeeding in breaking new grounds in physics, transportation, and infrastructure. Yes, they are world leaders in economics and trade and a whole bunch of things. Doesn't change the fact that they are playing the same old tried and true game that China has always done, which is subjugate all of their neighbors through trade and then act like emperors. And eventually it blows up in their face. Just like what Russia's doing, just like what North Korea is doing, just like what Trump is doing. The reality is we need to evolve past the posturing of military use and force and peace through aggression or peace through a show of might. Because that has clearly never once worked, and every single country that has attempted it has used that might to achieve peace through influence and conquest and coup d'etat-ing their fucking neighbors. Look at the United States. They have done nothing but invade South America for generations. They have done nothing but help destabilize the Middle East for generations. And China is trying to enforce its sphere of influence in Asia, just like Russia is trying to enforce its influence in Eastern Europe. Like that shit it's the same thing over and over and over again. Well, Sam, if you're such a pacifist, then as president, what are you gonna do? Disband the military? Disband the nuclear weapons? Huh? Are you gonna just back off whenever China raises its fist at you? No, of course not. Of course not. But I'm also not gonna walk around with an erection in the form of a rifle. That's stupid. It's absolutely fucking stupid. And honestly, if you have to show it off and talk about it, it 9 times out of 10 isn't all it's cracked up to be, right? Guys who constantly brag about being 6 feet tall, having a big, you know what, having a fancy car, having an expensive computer. Okay, I do that a little bit. Gotta admit. Talking about how many guns they have, how many women they've slept with, It's all overcompensation. You want to know how to lead? You lead by example. And in that sense, China, in many ways, is leading by example. Innovation through technology, trade, taking care and meeting the material conditions of the people, building high-speed rail, improving infrastructure, clean energy usage, all these things. China is leading by example. But they're also unable to resist the allure of, look at what I got, which is insane. They don't need to, is what I'm saying. And the fact that they continue to is ridiculous. Chinese food is great, but the fortune cookie told me I'd find true love in 98. Been waiting by the takeout counter ever since. One day. New Kids on the Block had a bunch of hits. Chinese food makes me sick, and I think it's Fly When Girls Stop By for this. Okay, I don't even know what's happening there, Shanks. Sounds like something I would do. What? Showing off my rifle? Try to convince the Gen X China is not the most evil thing ever. Or that Russia is the most evil thing ever. It's impossible. I won't say it's impossible, but you're right. It ain't easy. Because they truly believe it's still the 80s. And the Cold War is real. And that it wasn't just a means of building mass surveillance systems and increasing our military budget and giving more money to the rich and powerful as a veneer that, oh, if we don't do that, we're going to be attacked by them. So, yeah. Reagan actually did the thing by, removing the veil, by revealing the truth to everybody, by ending the Cold War. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And then it was like, oh, by the way, we were really just setting up this stage to give corporations everything. Anna's Gen X? Yeah, maybe Gen X from 20,000 years ago. The Cold War was 45 degrees Fahrenheit. At best. People call Reagan the great communicator, but every time I tried talking to him through my TV, he just ignored me. Yeah, I mean, definitely not praising Reagan because every economic and social ill that we are facing right now in America can literally be traced to the Reagan administration. Just to be clear. All right. We're actually getting through the list this time. Hell yeah. So maybe I can go over like some of the other stuff that I skipped over. Let's see. What else do we got here? Eastern. Okay, so more Russia,
How do you spend
Ukraine
hours
stuff.
taking your budget master template and splitting it into countless departments? Well, with data rails.
There is a strategic weight to the humanitarian emergency you are seeing right now. Russia's offensive in the east is spreading, attacks are intensifying. People living near the front line in the Dnipropetrovsk region are evacuating. Dozens of people a day for weeks now.
I don't want to leave, but there's nothing. Everything is destroyed. There's no hospital, no shops. Everything is broken. Something always hits here. It's scary to even step outside the house.
At evacuation point...
I mean, honestly, this feels like a propaganda video because as terrible as they're saying things are in the Ukraine right now, we are seeing the wholesale destruction of Gaza not 5 minutes ago on this stream. So, well, okay, a little bit more than 5 minutes ago. But, like, that's destruction. That's terror. That is devastation. That is, I need to get the fuck out of Dodge. I'm not saying that they aren't in danger, but the contrast between the suffering of the Ukrainian people versus the wholesale slaughter of Palestinians is very stark.
Points things move quickly. The danger remains. Nearby Pokrovsk is a vital hub for Ukraine, and Russia has not stopped trying to take it. Small groups, short goodbyes, last looks. Then it is time to go. For some, this is the moment they realize it could be the last goodbye.
We're waiting for another group to arrive before heading to an evacuation center. I've seen people hugging and crying, friends and neighbors saying their farewells. The volunteers here, their challenge remains the same as it has throughout the war, convincing people that it is now time to leave, to abandon their homes. Many don't want to, which is understandable, but there is a harsh reality playing out here right now.
Honestly, this makes me mad. This makes me more mad. I am actually more upset at how relatively unbothered everyone is. That lady is on her fucking cell phone. This guy is talking calmly. It's a nice, beautiful, sunny day. Trying to convince people to leave their homes. But now's the time because the fighting's getting a little iffy. And that is on every fucking news network in America and in Europe. But we show credible footage of Palestinian children being turned into paste in Gaza. People are literally being murdered to death, constantly being targeted by Israel, being starved to death. The entire cityscape of Gaza and whatever was Palestine is just rubble. And they report the Ukrainian war condition with more solemnity than they do Palestine. They give Ukraine more credibility than they do Palestine. And Palestine looks like an actual post-apocalyptic zone. Like, that pisses me off. That the sincerity of reporting, the sense of urgency of Ukraine is at a significantly more elevated level than the wholesale slaughter and genocide that is occurring in Palestine. That pisses me off. That pisses me off more than the fact that the genocide is happening in Palestine, because that is what deserves everyone's attention. The genocide. That is where the outrage should be focused and directed. I'm not saying that what's going on in Ukraine is to be dismissed. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that Ukraine being held to a higher standard of importance is disgusting. It's diabolical. It's white supremacy. I mean, I know a Ukrainian lady here that has her husband in Ukraine fighting and is scared he might not return. But it's not a genocide like Palestine. The difference between how they cover the Ukraine versus Gaza is stark. At least Ukraine actually has a military and they are getting arms from Western countries. The tone, that is the difference. And the fact that it is an actual war between two countries that are capable of fighting a war and not a one-sided genocide.
This place has become too close to a front line that keeps getting closer.
Gaza is a front line. Period. Dot. End of story.
Evacuation police routinely in the line of fire say things are getting worse. Lives here are packed down to what they can carry. Some barely able to carry themselves.
Oh, you know what? This is fucking
Russian drone strikes are free.
Al Jazeera, the narrator, is treating this with far more, I don't know, empathy. And it's Al Jazeera. It's a Middle Eastern news network. How can you show more empathy to this? Gazans don't have things anymore. They don't have homes. They don't have shelter. They don't have hospitals. There is nowhere safe to go. There is nowhere to flee. In Gaza, you rarely see old people because everyone gets murdered before they make it to old age. Yeah? This is garbage. This reporting is incredibly one-sided. Fucking disgusting.
Reach the
Like,
consumers
I
most
am
likely to become
actually
your
disgusted
customers. With first-party
at
data
Al
over
Jazeera for the way they presented that story.
Welcome back. You're with BBC News. Well, as Vladimir Putin admired China's display of military power at its big parade, his own military was launching another massive attack on Ukraine. According to Ukrainian officials, Russia used more than 500 drones and missiles in waves of airstrikes. Most, but not all, were shot down by Ukraine's air defense teams. And there are reports of fires and damage to homes in Kyiv and across the country. So let's cross over to the Ukrainian capital to speak to my colleague, our correspondent, Sarah Rainsford, who joins us live now. And Sarah, so intense were these overnight attacks across Ukraine that even Poland was scrambling its jets, neighbouring Ukraine, of course. Just talk us through the damage overnight.
Yeah, that's
so
something
we get
that's
the
become
play-by-play for
increasingly
this,
common.
but we get the play-by-play for Ukraine and Russia, but we barely get footnotes for fucking Palestine. Are you fucking serious?
Russia has stepped up its aerial attacks on Ukraine, Poland scrambling its jets to monitor the skies to ensure that none of those missiles or drones stray across the border. Certainly here in Ukraine itself, it was another difficult night, another massive attack launched by Russia, a combination of drones, more than 500 attack drones launched across the country, 24 cruise missiles launched from the Black Sea and from aircraft.
Why don't you report how many drone strikes and missile strikes and tank movements Israel is committing against a starving, defenseless population? How about that? Just a thought.
Russian aircraft, of course. This is a pattern, frankly, that's emerged here in Ukraine, and an increase both in the number of attacks, but also particularly in the scale of the attacks in recent weeks, and notably since the beginning of an attempt to find a diplomatic solution to this war here in Ukraine, Russia's invasion, full-scale invasion of this country, and a peak in attacks, particularly since Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin in Alaska. So that has not changed anything on the ground for the better for Ukrainian civilians. Certainly people here have spent nights sheltering underground on the metro or in their shelters to stay away from those drones and those missiles, and that happened again last night. Vladimir Zelensky, the president...
Do you know where Palestinians can shelter to avoid drone strikes, missile strikes, and shelling from the Israeli military? You know where they can hunker down and shelter? Nowhere. Because there is nowhere to shelter anymore. And I'm not particularly certain Palestine had subways to begin with, to even hide underground in the first place. I could drive to the Ukraine in 17 hours. Can you even change states in that time in the U.S.? You can. In Gaza, there's no shelter because even the refugee encampments get attacked. And Israel would just use bunker busters on top of that. Even if there were underground shelters like caves or subways or anything along those lines, Israel would just use bunker busters to collapse them or destroy them outright. This, you know, I know we don't normally cover Ukraine to any sort of degree. I just never realized how fucking hypocritical it was either. The different tones, the perspectives, all of it. It is so biased and so completely different than the way the BBC, Al Jazeera, anybody reports on Palestine. It's fucking disgusting.
Here has talked about this latest attack as a demonstrative attack by Russia, saying it shows his impunity, and also making his point, Ukraine's point, that this is happening because Ukraine believes the world is not putting enough economic pressure on Russia to cripple its economy and to stop it being able to fund these attacks. But of course, as we watch that show of military might in China, and we see the posturing, the geopolitical posturing of Vladimir Putin alongside his authoritarian allies from China and from North Korea in particular, these are the countries, of course, who are helping Russia to wage its war in Ukraine, either by propping up the economy, by buying vast amounts of Russian oil, or because, like North Korea, they're directly supplying troops and supplying ammunition and weapons so that Russia can continue fighting its war.
Yeah, all important points. Sarah, as always, many thanks for that update. Sarah Rainsford there in Kiev. Thank you.
Yeah. So, evil Russia being aided and abetted by evil North Korea and evil China buying evil Russia's evil oil to continue attacking innocent Ukraine. Meanwhile, whenever these motherfuckers talk about Israel, it's never evil Germany, France, Spain, Netherlands, Portugal, Sweden, Greece, Turkey, America, Canada, all giving guns, weapons, bombs, missiles, tanks, planes, and everything else to Israel to slaughter Palestinians. The sheer hypocrisy in the way these agencies smear Russia and anyone who even remotely looks as a supporting element compared to the European complicity with Israel and their genocide against Palestinians. Like, how the fuck do people watch this news and then see the same news network talk about Palestine, knowing that their country is supporting Israel, and not see the stark differences? And I know the answer. I know the fucking answer. It's propaganda. I get that. But holy fucking shit, how propagandized are we that you can see the blatant differences in how they are being reported and be like, yep, that seems pretty fair and balanced. Yep, that seems pretty much right. Yep, Israel can do no wrong and Russia's evil. Unfucking believable. It is very difficult to put economic pressure on Russia because they are fairly self-sufficient, especially since they're allied with China. Yeah. And it's difficult to put economic pressure on Israel because Israel owns all of Europe, apparently. Controls, because I don't want to put it out there that, oh, he's anti-Semitic. The U.S. has spent the last 30 years wasting money on wars. Meanwhile, Russia and China have spent most of their money and resources on building up their infrastructure. China and Russia made sure that they are self-sufficient. Only China can pressure Russia economically. And even so, whenever the West reports on China and Russia, it's like the devil incarnate. It's like the 1980s all over again. The Cold War in perpetuity. But whenever Israel commits a crime, murders world leaders, attacks sovereign states, commits genocide, oh, they can do nothing wrong. It's all anti-Semitism. It's disgusting. I don't care about how my government would get affected by working against Israel. Exactly. And if your government would get negatively impacted by working against Israel, then that government deserves to fall and be destroyed wholesale with emergency new elections to replace all of those criminals. But, you know. Exactly. It's the same when the U.S. commits war crimes. I'm not saying America is any more innocent than the other countries. But it's true. Nobody's going to hold America accountable because we do have the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. And we probably still do have the strongest military. But we are rapidly losing our readiness because of our own disillusionment with our own country due to this regime. So, we might have the strongest military for now, but next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even so, even as president, I will obviously make sure that we have a strong, robust military, but I'm not going to use our military as a cudgel against other countries. I truly do want to implement a domestic mission so that we can focus on rebuilding our infrastructure, modernizing it, and expanding it for everyone in this country. And wherever we are across the globe, it will be for stability. Like, quite frankly, I will activate every single one of our foreign bases and put Israel off the map. And every single one of those motherfuckers is going to The Hague. And then the citizens that are left over can get repatriated to their host fucking countries because most Israelis aren't even Middle Eastern. as has been proven over and over and over again. We also don't have the coolest military. That is true. And again, I am not going to facilitate that either. Yeah, I could see how that would be scary to you and a lot of other people from other countries. Oh, here we go. Speaking of The Hague.
Rights groups in the Netherlands want their government to end arms exports to Israel. A lower court rejected their arguments last year, but they've appealed that ruling. A hearing on that is taking place today. Let's go to Steph Fasson. She joins us live from The Hague. Steph, what is the importance of this case?
Why do they always do the dumb nod?
Well, this is important because Al-Haq, the main Palestinian human rights organization, and 9 other organizations are saying that the Dutch state is violating its legal obligations according to the Genocide Convention. It's basically providing still weapons and dual-use products, which can be used for military and civilian use, to Israel, despite the fact that in the lower court, the judge said that the Dutch state has a responsibility to carefully look at all the licenses, and it trusted also the Dutch state to do so. But now Al-Haq says the Dutch state has failed to do so because still licenses are being provided to companies selling arms and also all kinds of products that could be used and are very likely used in Gaza against the civilian population.
What is most insane about this article or news video is that the Netherlands is where The Hague is. The same Hague that executed the Nazis, that established the terms of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. In that same country, that same government, business leaders within that country are aiding and abetting a modern genocide. Like, that is disturbing. Extremely disturbing.
Also, the Netherlands is one of the main exporters of trained police dogs. More than 100 dogs have been exported to Israel, which are used partially also in Gaza by the IDF, the Israeli military, and also against civilians in the West Bank. So the groups are now saying that the Dutch state basically has failed to live up to its obligations it has under international law. The Dutch state has also commented here during the court hearing, and we ended up in a very unclear statements by the Dutch state about how these licenses are provided, and the judge seemed to be confused as well because some of these weapons they are sold to Israel but then go back to the Netherlands, or they stay in Israel. So there was a lot of confusion, and the judge also asked does this mean that you are still hoping that the EU will put sanctions on Israel, because it seems so far that the EU, and not only the Netherlands, but the EU is failing to do so.
Okay, many thanks for that. Steph Fasson there in The Hague.
Don't miss out.
So, yeah. Fascism is on the rise throughout Europe and America and the world. Just like at another point in time in history during the 20s. Gee, what could possibly go wrong? This lady makes me anxious when she talks. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, all of these reporters, they, it's like they have no energy or emotion when they're talking about Israel and Palestine, but they can be as animated as possible when it comes to talking about the Ukraine. It's like they put their junior staff or their less appealing staff on the Palestinian-Israel news stories, and they put all of their energetic and younger staff on the Ukrainian-Russia stories so that it can get more clickbait, which is another form of propaganda. Like, you're going to purposely sabotage the reporting of the thing that matters so that the audience can focus on the thing that doesn't matter or matters less. And I'm sorry to say, I am sorry to say that the Ukrainian conflict does matter less than the genocide in Palestine, because the Ukrainian conflict is not a genocide. It is a war between two countries. One that should never have occurred, one that is still nevertheless a tragedy, but it is less destructive and in violation of international law than Israel committing genocide against Palestine. Don't make people without empathy talk about tragedy. Exactly. So, I think I need another cup of water, and we have an hour left. So, why don't we do a quick break? Everybody can take their 5 minutes or so, and I will be right back. Oh shit. Wow. That's a little embarrassing. I got a little carried away there. Ha! Hey, maybe we'll be able to do some lip sync contests later on in the stream as we gain popularity and viewership. We can do some laid back Fridays or something, right? So let's see. And Russia was the aggressor. Trump visited The Hague recently and left alive. Yeah, no, that was a huge disappointment. The fact that he wasn't immediately arrested is, again, a failure of international law, and proves that international law is whatever we say it is, and by we, meaning the people with power and influence. Because nobody would arrest Vladimir Putin either, or Netanyahu, or Xi Jinping from China. So, realistically, we don't have international law. We have international law for those who don't have nuclear weapons and large military budgets. That's about it. Bolsonaro. Good. Speaking of corrupt, evil politicians.
Yes, sir. I worshiped you growing up.
This garbage human being,
There
right?
were prayers and tears during the vigil held the night before the historic trial began, with two of Jair Bolsonaro's sons hugging their father's supporters. The following morning, protesters gathered outside the gated community where the former president is under house arrest. They celebrated the trial they hope will put Bolsonaro behind bars, until an angry neighbor tore down their banner, showing just how deeply divided Brazilians remain. Bolsonaro watched the trial broadcast live on television from home, while hundreds of journalists flocked to the Supreme Court for the opening session. It was the first of 8 sessions that will determine Bolsonaro's fate. In his opening remarks, Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes promised a fair trial based on evidence, sending a clear message to U.S. President Donald Trump, who has been exerting economic pressure to stop what he calls a witch hunt.
As well as sending 4,000 Marines into Latin American waters, South American waters. So it's not just economic sanctions. He's also positioning military, U.S. military, as an intimidation force in the area as well. Yeah, the Israeli flag does have the swastika aura now. And it's crazy, too, because the only people who are waving the Israeli flag now are the same people who are promoting the fascism. Like the Democrats who support Israel are basically the most bootlicking, corporatized scum within the party. Everyone else is like, yeah, I'm not touching that thing.
Against his longtime ally.
This is the role of the Supreme Court, to judge with impartiality and apply justice to each specific case, regardless of threats or coercion, ignoring internal and external pressures.
General Prosecutor Paulo Gonet laid out his case, explaining why he believes Bolsonaro is guilty of plotting a coup to stay in power after losing the 2022 election to Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and why the former president and 7 co-defendants should be in prison.
The coup was not completed because, despite persistent attempts by those accused, it did not obtain the support of the army and Air Force commanders.
Bolsonaro's lawyer insists his client is innocent and will present his defense on Wednesday. While the trial
Does this regime have the support of the military leadership after all? Despite the Pentagon claiming that Trump is an idiot and this, that, and the other? Fundamentally, if the military didn't want this regime in power, they can and would have done something about it. So I mean, the closest thing we ever had to a military coup was during the Eisenhower administration, where I believe it was Patton who was getting into a dick measuring contest with the president, Eisenhower, who was also one of the greatest military generals in our history. So, like, what the fuck?
Was underway in the Supreme Court, the building behind me, just a few meters away in Congress. Bolsonaro's supporters were already discussing a bill that would pardon the former president
in case he is convicted.
What the fuck? That is some serious MAGA shit right there. All right, fine, impeach the president. Fine, remove him from office, but we're still going to pass a bill to where he won't go to prison if you do. Hell, they already passed legislation that says the president can do no wrong while in office. What the fuck? So, I mean, if anything, Brazil is a step behind America because American Congress went an extra mile for fascism, to support fascism, by saying, well, the Supreme Leader can do no wrong. Which is going to be great when I'm president, because when I execute these motherfuckers, that means like I didn't do anything wrong. Samba do Brasil. Yeah. It doesn't apply to Obama. True. It doesn't apply to Obama or Clinton or Bush. So, yeah.
Although Bolsonaro has been banned from running for public office until 2030, whatever the result of this trial, political analysts say he still is capable of influencing next year's general elections.
Which is insane. He is a criminal being prosecuted for treason. How is he still influential? Like that is a failure of human beings. We are such an easily led species. We are so easily influenced, that blatantly obvious traitors to your country can still get rabid support. Even facing treason charges. That's ridiculous. Anyway. Oh yeah, this one.
Okay, if you're cool.
So allegedly, America killed a boat in international waters and claims it was a drug boat, but it was in international waters from Venezuela, where we just put 4,000 Marines in an attempt to intimidate Venezuela. You see where I'm going with this? There is no chance in hell that these were drug runners.
Military forces deployed to the South Caribbean to target Venezuelan drug smugglers hit their first boat, killing 11 people. President Trump was quick to talk about it.
We just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. Just tap
national waters. That's important.
So the point out of that, though, is this attack, right? Again, we sent 4,000 Marines into Venezuelan waters, which is an act of aggression. Could even be construed as an invasion, an act of invasion, for the express purpose of taking out the cartels. Well, there weren't any cartels to take out. There was no criminal activity to take down. But now, all of a sudden, a week later, 2 weeks later, the Marines finally got their guy in international waters with a black and white CCTV camera and no evidence. Just extrajudicial murder in international waters. Now, remember as well, the Epstein files, which have still yet to be released, were don't talk about it, I'm not in it. Well, even if I am in it, I'm not guilty. Oh, well, Ghislaine said that I just was reading books and talking to donors, so clearly, even if I am in it, I didn't do anything wrong, right? It's about perpetuating the lie. Manufacturing consent. And that's exactly what this attack is. Because again, after the transgender person murdered kids in school, what was the next big thing that was happening? All of the anti-trans push throughout all the 50 states to remove transgender material from the curriculum, as well as, disparaging against transgender people in generally speaking. So every time there's this major event, this major attack, this major victory, that will also justify the violence or the aggression or the ramping up of military presence or justifying ICE expansion or justifying 4,000 Marines off the coast of Venezuela, you need to think twice. If they sent them there and now it's justified because of this thing, maybe you should start questioning rather than be like, oh shit, I guess he was right. You need to question why he's always seemingly right when it comes to power, violence, and expanding power, expanding influence, increasing military presence. This is not a fucking drill. This is literally in front of us. It is literally in 4K. Well, CCTV, but you get where I'm going with this. The Cult of Personality, I watched about how he won the hearts and minds of the evangelicals in Brazil. Well, that's the thing. It's always the religious cults and the religious nut jobs, isn't it? They are the most often evil pieces of garbage. You are right. Spanish-American War 2.0, but with different countries. He hates Maduro. You allow drugs to be sent to other countries. We manufacture the drugs. We were distributing the drugs from the Middle East. Heroin came from the Middle East while we were there, fighting terrorists. I trust drugs here more than the food in the USA. I mean, unfortunately. Oh yeah, and they're getting rid of food inspections. You're right. That is absolutely true. So the drugs are probably safer in the Netherlands than the food in America. If I was an evil CEO in the USA, I would just make the most addicting food ever, no matter how cancerous. I mean, that's what they already do. That's literally what they already do. It's probably why these blueberry mini scones are so delicious. But I digress.
If it had been in Venezuelan territory, it would have marked an even further escalation with the South American country. As it is, US warships and Marines have been deployed close to Venezuela's waters since last month. And the US has put a $50 million bounty on President Nicolas Maduro's head. It accuses him of leading drug trafficking activities to the US. The day before the strike, Maduro said that if attacked, the country would fight back.
Venezuela is a peaceful country, but we are a nation of warriors, and Venezuela will never give in to blackmail or threats of any kind, not at any point in our history.
He's pushing sign-up drives for a voluntary militia against any US invasion. But experts say that's very unlikely.
But I don't think this isn't going to be an incursion. This is not going to be played out the way Maduro has been marketing it. It's going to be exactly the way it has played out today, which is a drug interdiction becomes a heated war event, a battle, and then it escalates.
Somewhere else that the US is keen to get its
military... Did that bitch just say that what Trump did was a good thing? Did I?
It's going to be exactly the way it has played out today, which is a drug interdiction becomes a heated war event, a battle, and then it escalates.
Somewhere else.
No, motherfucker. The presence of the U.S. military in Venezuelan waters while this regime threatens the duly elected president of Venezuela and offers a $50 million bounty while miraculously finding one drug-running boat that happened to sail past a Marine vessel. Like, what cartel member would be stupid enough to take their boat into international waters knowing good and damn well that there's a military Navy vessel with nothing better to do than to murder them? Like, let's be honest. Oh, criminals, they're stupid. Oh, criminals, No, they're not. Cartels, criminals, organizations are not stupid. They're not. I'm sorry to say, they are not. You know what they are? They are transportation and logistics enterprises that do drugs instead of cookies or cars or computer screens. They are in the logistics and distribution industry Okay? And not only do they have to avoid regulations and inspections, they also have to survive. Okay? Literally, militaries. Literally, their host countries, their country of origins militaries, right? In this case, Venezuela. And then the military of the country that they're trying to get into, i.e. the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay? So, no. These cartels are not fucking stupid. They're not. They are simply not stupid enough to just sail into international waters brazenly when there are Marines present. They're not that stupid. And so this lady's saying, well, what happened was no, that's not what happened. And you are perpetuating it. You are perpetuating the lie, which is justifying the actions of this regime. And that is not okay. The same media that did the Ukraine video. Yeah, it is the same media, but I think this lady
that the US is
becomes.
I don't think. I mean, yes, there's the bug right there for Al Jazeera, but I don't think she's an Al Jazeera reporter.
A heated war
if she
event,
is, then she needs to be fired.
And then it escalates.
Somewhere else that the US is keen to get its military involved is here in Mexico. But in this case, President Trump wants them to come in and help authorities in their fight against drug cartels.
Okay, are we losing Al Jazeera? Seriously. He's just going to report the byline of this regime? He's just going to report the byline. Is that what Al Jazeera is doing right now? Because it really feels like the Al Jazeera of years ago was far more feet to the fire than what we are seeing now. Trump wants to work with Mexican authorities. No, the fuck he doesn't. Every single action that this piece of shit has taken has been aggression and power consolidation and intimidation and threats through violence. So no, how could you sit here and repeat the byline? Trump wants the military in Mexico, but this time he wants to work with Mexican authorities. He sent Marines to Venezuela to work with the Venezuelan government. The Venezuelan government told him to fuck off. And now he is labeling their president a terrorist and cartel member. And then they happen to find the dumbest cartel runner on the planet in international waters. Like, is Al Jazeera, and then the way they're reporting about Ukraine, is Al Jazeera compromised? Are they compromised? Like, I'm really asking, did Al Jazeera become compromised? Because it seems like the past few times we've used them, like the past few streams, it seems like they are reporting less and less fiercely unless it's one of their people that are the focus of the news. They did. They used to be really hard-hitting and not propaganda light. Right, and the cartel members said that they love Maduro right before getting murdered. Yeah, it just fucking... It's just actually depressing. If we lose Al Jazeera, like, what international news source can we trust?
The Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, is resisting that. She says it would be a violation of Mexico's sovereignty.
Yeah, because it would be.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is currently on a flying visit to Mexico. That's sure to be part of what he talks about as the US flexes its muscles again in parts of Latin America. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Don't miss out.
I am very concerned. Oh, wow. They have a whole fucking list of Trump. That's fucking wild. At this point, I just assumed the opposite of what they are saying most of the time. We already know the BBC is compromised, and they were exposed by their own employees, right? I mean, it's not like Al Jazeera hasn't lost personnel to Palestine, but the context of their reporting generally seems to be very selling the byline. And I'm not a big I am not enjoying
Build a website
that
you
at
love
all.
with Wix.
And of course, most of our international news is from Al Jazeera, so it's like, how much of this can we trust now?
For your words,
All smiles at a recent public appearance in eastern France, but French Prime Minister François Bayrou is fighting for his political survival. In a few days, he could be out. Bayrou called a surprise confidence vote for September 8th after failing to rally parliamentary support for a controversial austerity budget he says would save France from economic collapse.
Isn't Marcon
An immediate danger looms over us, which we must...
Hold up. I thought it was Marcon that was in charge of France. Who the fuck is this guy? Like, am I missing something? Who the fuck is Francois? Okay, so wait. Macron is the president and this guy's the prime minister. So, is that like the vice president then? Who's in charge? Well, I guess I do not know. Okay. I can read. I get that. Like, I am well aware that he is not the president. He's the prime minister. But prime ministers are usually referred to as heads of state. So, would that be like the Speaker of the Senate then? Or the Vice President during tiebreaker votes? Because then I really don't understand what the Parliament is. If you have a President and a Parliament and a Prime Minister, I thought Parliament was supposed to be like the legislative branch. And then the President or Prime Minister being the executive branch. So yeah, I'm a little lost here. I guess we can do a quick Google search here. Where does the PM rank in French government? All right. The Prime Minister of France is the head of government of the French Republic and leader of its Council of Ministers, although the office holder does not chair its meetings as the President does. The Prime Minister is the holder of the second highest office in France after the President. The President appoints the Prime Minister but cannot dismiss them, only request their resignation. The government of France, including the Prime Minister, can be dismissed by the National Assembly. Upon appointment, the Prime Minister proposes a list of ministers to the President. Decrees and decisions signed by the Prime Minister, like almost all executive decisions, are subject to the oversight of the administrative court system. Some decrees are taken after advice from the Council of State, over which the Prime Minister is entitled to preside. Ministers defend the programs of their ministers to the Prime Minister, who make budgetary choices. The extent to which these decisions lie with the Prime Minister or President often depends upon whether they are of the same political party. If so, the President may serve as both the head of state and de facto head of government, while the Prime Minister serves as his deputy. That sounds like a vice president with extra steps. Like, that sounds like a vice president that can actually get in the way of things. And also, how is the Prime Minister head of government but second to the President? That doesn't make sense. All right, let's read that Wikipedia real quick. The President is the executive head of France and the commander-in-chief. Okay, so he gets to control the military. As the presidency is the supreme magistrate of the country, the position is the highest office in France. The powers, functions, and duties, in addition to their relation to the Prime Minister, have over time differed with various constitutional amendments. The President of France is the ex officio co-prince of Andorra, Grand Master of the Legion of Honor and of the National Order of Merit, and protector of the Institut de France in Paris. The office holder is also honorary proto-canon of the Archbasilica of St. John Lateran in Rome, although some have rejected the title in the past. Which, that explains fucking nothing. So there are two executives in France, and the President is in charge of the military, but the Prime Minister is in charge of the government broadly. Sure, I guess. The French president is quite powerful, although the Prime Minister of France, through their government as well as Parliament, oversees much of the nation's actual day-to-day domestic affairs. The French president wields significant influence and authority, especially in the fields of national security and foreign policy. The president's greatest power is the ability to choose the PM. It just really seems like the president of France gets to deal with foreign people, which would make him the Secretary of State, and the PM is the one who deals with domestic affairs, which would make him the president. Jean-Luc Mélenchon should be the president of France. I mean, I don't know any of them, but hey, sure. France is such a fake country. You know it is if you ever visited anything outside of Paris. Is that the guy Hassan interviewed? Probably, if Anna knows who it is. Because she watches her future baby daddy.
Face, not tomorrow or the day after, but today, without delay. Otherwise, we won't have a future, and the present will be severely worsened. Our country is in danger because we are at risk of over-indebtedness.
Without a majority in
fiscal
Parliament,
hawks.
Bairou's at the mercy of opposition MPs from far-right and left-wing parties, who say the budget would hurt the poorest and that he should go.
When you think that 90% of the cuts will target the middle and poor working class, and those are the very same people who've been told over the past year, over the past 7 years, that they should make more effort, that they should accept to other social services, public services.
Anger's already being felt on the streets. These electricity workers in Paris say they've had enough.
We are at the service of the French public 24/7, and our companies are making huge profits, and it's simply unfair that the workers do not get a share of this wealth to live in dignity.
So this is crazy to me because France will literally throw a revolution every other Tuesday. Like, that is what France is known for. Révolution, 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 union de la révolution, right? France is about that life. And yet, this PM is trying to pass austerity measures. Macron is trying to be a fascist dictator, as well as everybody else in Europe. And the French are just simply protesting right now. Like, I think we're going to see a European spring at this rate. And I hope that France leads the charge, as they always do, because this is nuts to me that they are having the same arguments about corporate profiteering and the working class not getting it and trying to cut social programs, which is the same shit that's happening here in America, but it's France, the country known for overthrowing its government on a whim. Anyway, that's where Hassan was coming from when he got detained by immigration. He had been in France interviewing Mélenchon. Okay, fair. I like that name because it rhymes with lechon, Puerto Rican roast pork. But I knew about Mélenchon before Hassan interviewed him because, unfortunately, I pay attention to French politics. You do? Well, that's good because as my chief of staff, I'm going to need somebody that knows what's going on.
Trade unions are calling for more protests in other sectors in the coming days and weeks, including a nationwide strike. This analyst says that if Bayrou is toppled,
well, there we
the
go.
focus
Nationwide
will quickly
strike. Go
shift
France.
to the French president.
If Francois Bayrou falls next week, Emmanuel Macron will be the next in the firing line. He'll be the target of growing social anger. The problem for him is how to stop the increasing calls for him to resign.
How about
France is
not being a
teetering on the
douchebag?
brink of another political crisis with no clear path forward and mounting pressure on an increasingly fragile president. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Paris.
See, at least Al Jazeera seemed to do an accurate reporting that did this circumstance justice. It's very disturbing that when it comes to military conflict and the Trump regime, that they are very kitty gloves with it. I don't like that at all. Oh, the heckler? Oh, is this the... Well, I guess because we do have some time left, let's in fact talk about the earthquake in Afghanistan, and we'll probably cover the flotilla.
Let's start
to
this
wrap
hour
things
in
up.
Afghanistan, where rescuers are struggling to reach villages and remote mountainous areas following the devastating earthquake that struck late on Sunday. The Taliban authorities now say more than 1,400 people have been killed, with at least...
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does that not say the Taliban is reporting that more than 1,400 people are killed in the Afghanistan quake? So let me just ask this question real quick. Let me just throw that out there. The Taliban that is in charge of Afghanistan right now, is that not the same Taliban that took credit for 9/11 or that we fought during the war on terror before ISIS? So if the Taliban is reporting, then doesn't that mean that the Taliban is in charge of Afghanistan? Which means all of that fighting that we did for the past 20 odd years was rendered moot and pointless because the very people we were fighting are still in charge, or in charge again after the fact. And is that not the same justification that Israel is using against Hamas by claiming Hamas is a terrorist organization and that they need to be dismantled and this, that, and the other? I'm just spitballing here. I'm just curious. Am I missing something? Am I missing something? No, I mean, maybe it was Al-Qaeda that took credit for the Twin Towers. That's not the point. The point is the Taliban was in charge of Afghanistan over 20 years ago, and now they're back. And being reported on without missing a beat, without batting a single eyelash. How the fuck? Because I know the BBC was talking shit about the Taliban. I know for a fact they were. Because they were parroting the same shit America was, that the Middle East, danger, terrorism. Everybody was in a tizzy over terrorism in the Middle East. And over the Taliban, and over Al-Qaeda, and over ISIS. And now it's the Taliban in charge of Afghanistan again. Unfucking believable. Like, there's no shame.
3,100 injured. Most of the deaths occurring in Kunar and Nangarhar provinces near the quake's epicenter. That's about 30 kilometers north of Jalalabad. The UN in Afghanistan has warned there's likely to be an exponential rise in casualty figures. Many survivors spending the night in the open after they had been pulled out of a mud and stone homes. You can see them here, built into steep valleys. Let's take you to our South Asia correspondent Azadeh Mashiri, who is monitoring developments for us from Islamabad. Azadeh, we see the death toll now rising, the amount of injured going up as well, and this was to be expected. But what are you hearing from inside Afghanistan?
Well, so that death toll is from the Taliban government. The United Nations and other aid groups are also trying
to your point, apolitical, that is exactly the point that I am making. They conflate Hamas, which is fighting for its fucking survival and existence, to the Taliban, which is a known terrorist organization that has literally terrorized its own people with murder, death, trafficking, and worse. So yeah, there is no comparison.
To report on what the death toll is and what the casualty count is. The last we heard from the United Nations was that 800 were killed according to their preliminary reports. All of this is partly this confusion and some of the numbers shifting is because these areas are so remote. They're mountainous regions, difficult to access and also difficult to get information out. Also in Afghanistan, once people are killed, they're buried very quickly, and so not only is it difficult to get to those areas, but these bodies don't always make it to the nearest hospital, main hospital in Jalalabad, and therefore the casualty count doesn't always reveal the scale of the crisis that is going on there in Afghanistan. what the Taliban government has been insisting on is that they need international support. They need aid. And what we've heard so far is that several countries have pledged aid donations. Those include China, Switzerland, India has donated 1,000 tents. The United Kingdom has pledged £1 million in emergency funding that they've stressed is going through partners like the International Rescue Committee. And so it's worth saying that this is money is flowing in, but it's a complicated operation, and aid workers are warning they're not sure it's enough.
An urgent.
And honestly, the sense of urgency from other countries, the fact that you hear the big names, India, China, the UK, you know, everybody's trying to put on a good face, put on airs that they are good neighbors on the international stage. But realistically, every single one of those countries listed wants Afghanistan to belong to them. And I mean, England wants nothing more than to colonize Afghanistan in the Middle East, just like America does, through the lens of Israel. So this is tragic. It explains, I mean, now we have a better understanding as why these numbers and what's going on here, but hopefully this resolves itself in a way that doesn't bring us back into conflict and war in Afghanistan. Let's cover the flotilla real quick, and then I guess we will in fact have time.
An expedition.
Well, hold on. It departs Barcelona.
More boxes, more options.
So we do want
an expedition that departed Barcelona with much fanfare on Sunday, carrying humanitarian aid, activists and celebrities to Gaza, has been forced back to port. According to a statement from the organizers, the global Sumud flotilla, consisting of some 20 boats with participants from 44 countries, chose to return and delay its departure to prioritize safety after a storm hit parts of Spain overnight. Thousands of pro-Palestinian supporters had gathered under a scorching sun on the docks of Barcelona's Old Port on Sunday to cheer the mission as it took off. But facing winds of over 56 kilometers per hour, some of the smaller boats taking part in the mission would have been at risk, a statement said. Spain's National Weather Agency had issued warnings of rainfall and strong storms for Catalonia, as well as other parts of Spain. The flotilla is the largest attempt yet to break the Israeli blockade of Gaza by sea, with a plan to deliver much-needed humanitarian aid to an enclave gripped by rising hunger deaths and what experts call a man-made famine. It was unclear when the maritime convoy would depart Barcelona again.
So back to the point about finding the worst correspondent possible to cover these news things. You need a more energized individual to discuss this if you want people to give a damn. There are more people in this flotilla that are now stuck in Barcelona because of the heat wave, the rain, and the storms. Hopefully they will be able to go soon so that they can potentially break the blockade of Israel. More to come at 11. Like, bro, if you want people to give a shit about this, I don't know, put a little bit of life in your voice. The flotilla was encountered a setback due to weather anomalies, but the morale is high. People are full of energy and hope and joy and mirth, and Spaniards gathered across the docks, wishing the flotilla well, showering them with support and love and admiration and well wishes. The aid that they are carrying can make a massive dent to the man-made starvation that is occurring in Palestine. And our hearts, our wishes, our prayers go out to the flotilla that is multiple ships strong from over 40 countries. May the weather subside immediately, as quickly as possible, so that these brave souls can journey forth and perhaps write history. Now that would be an inspiring news clip. That would get people to click and share and be like, wow, let's go flotilla. Let's go flotilla. Because again, you can still propagandize things that are good by being inspirational and full of energy. It's one of the reasons why I keep getting torn between this screen and this screen because I'm trying to present me as president versus me leading the revolution. Right? And it's why I changed the background to something a little bit more than just this color. I wanted it to be more engaging. It's why I'm more animated. It's why, well, I'm a good public speaker anyway, if I may toot my own horn, but that's not the point. I could sit here and be like, well, that was annoying. I wish they would talk more. I wish they would do more of this and that. And have zero presence, right? I could just be here like this. And now to our next video. We will be discussing the comedy of the heckler that got removed.
You deserve the best. At Harbor Freight,
comedy
you can
thing.
afford it. Performance.
And y'all would fucking log off. Y'all would log off so fucking fast, right? Not because of the hair and the bland outfit, but if my voice and energy matched the bland hair and the bland shirt, y'all are gonna be like, whose fucking trust fund cousin is pretending to be president on Twitch right now? Because what in the actual fuck is going on right now, right? And if you saw this, you'd be like, okay, whose trust fund cousin thinks they're Che Guevara? Oh, their trust fund cousin is wearing that. I mean, at least that kind of makes sense, but bro, why are you wearing a polo? Oh, he's got the cigar? That's just weird. Oh, he's got the rifle? Okay, it's beginning to look a little rebel-y. But, what's that on the background, you say? Oh, the keffia. Oh, so he's about that life. Now all of a sudden, I'm not a trust fund baby. Now all of a sudden, it's like, oh, who's this guy? I might want to listen to what he has to say. But if you log on and you just hear me drone on, like, you're not going to be excited about any of this shit. You're going to be like, all right, well, back to Hassan then. Because at least he's handsome and 6'3". And he might be in a tub. We never know. News reporter talent. Yeah, and you know what's funny? Democracy Now! Interviewed me to be a permanent member of their YouTube channel, and they turned me down because they said I wasn't real enough. Or that I didn't give enough energy and enthusiasm. Not Democracy Now! It was something to do with the Democrats, like the 98 or something like that. Occupy Democrats, that's what it was. The Occupy Democrats said that I didn't give enough energy and authenticity. Anyway. The screens are cool. Mark Zuckerberg-luing. I'd stay because I have to. Yeah. Well, thanks, Anna. Thanks, Mom. You actually might be Edward Snowden, right? You get paid the big bucks. We got tickets to the gun show. Oh, yeah. Right there. See, look. Look. There's a gun. There's a show. Tickets. I still don't know if it's a prop or not. 6'4". It's really important to state the facts correctly. My bad. He's 6'4", and he might be in a hot tub. I get it. Who wants to watch a clothed guy talk about politics when you could watch somebody who's 6'4" and shirtless in a hot tub? I get it.
Oh, no. Let's keep it nice and civil. That's not a great thing, though, right? They would not have liked this next joke. Did you guys hear about the Israeli pedophile that the United States let off? Yeah. I know, you're like,
actually, did we cover that story last week? Because that was insane that it was an Israeli national and like member of AIPAC or something who was caught red-handed with the pedophile. Okay, so we covered it. Insane, though. I'll let him tell you.
The head of Israeli cyber defense, or as
right.
I call it,
like, not Abe, I'm sorry. He was head of Israel's cyber defense. Like, he's a huge fucking deal. in Israel, caught red-handed, and was expatriated, no questions asked.
Chrome got busted in Vegas for soliciting a minor online. Literally the one thing you can't do in Vegas. In Vegas, you can gamble your life savings, you can drink in public, you can smoke weed with your hooker.
We're watching a comedian, so I'm allowed to laugh randomly and it won't be really awkward. But Jesus Christ, Anna. Hassan also threatens his chat with dragging his nuts across their face. Step it up. How is that stepping it up? That I'm going to threaten to drag my nuts across your face? Like, that's vulgar and not very presidential.
You can gun down a famous rapper. You can have a random Asian guy dangling from your car window. You've seen The Hangover, but you can steal a tiger from Mike Tyson, etc., etc. But just stay away from the kids. Okay, you can literally bet on any number as long as it's higher than 18, is what I'm saying.
Damn.
It's like inverse blackjack.
Also, he's a really good comedian, and he's constantly digging at Israel and America. He's a very, very political comedian.
The police engaged in a sting operation, and no music was made. That joke would have killed in the 80s. And in this operation, an undercover officer posed as a 15-year-old girl.
Damn.
Which,
I
let's
can
face
see the
it, kind of a
resemblance.
sweet gig. Okay. And good for a cop, too, right? Same level of emotional intelligence. Yeah, totally. In the sting operation, 8 men were busted, including a pastor, shocking, and an Israeli official named Tom Alexandrovich, aka Peeping Tom, who is the head of cybersecurity for Israel. Yeah. So clearly we found a security flaw. Iran, take notes. You want to get in? Just pose as a 15-year-old girl.
That's
the irony, too.
But you know what's crazy? He's not wrong. All of these fucking people are pedophiles. All of them. And they used Epstein Island to trap these pedophiles and blackmail them. Now that Epstein's dead, they're just doing the same shit they always did, except they don't have their cover. Unless it happens in America and you're Israeli, and then you'll be released, no questions asked. So the fact that he said, hey, Iran, if you really want to target these Israeli officials, pretend to be a 15-year-old girl, like, that's legitimate intelligence gathering possibility. That is a legitimate method to capture and spy on one of these sociopaths. Like, legitimate. Like, I don't know what you would call it because it's clearly not a honeypot. That would be disturbing. But a honeypot is where a spy or person would seduce you to gain intelligence. So I don't know what it would be if you're doing it pretending to be a child. Something really fucking disturbing, I guess. Pedophile honeypot, which I hope that never gets coined. But still, any adversary to Israel could literally do that to their leadership and have a good chance of succeeding. And that should disturb you just as much as the fact that this administration in Israel is committing genocide.
Is that Alexandrovich was in Vegas for a conference about hacking. And ironically, he got hacked. So clearly not very good at his job. He needs to go back to school. Oh wait, actually no. No. He's a high-ranking officer.
Really apolitical? Really? You're gonna do me like that? Because you're absolutely fucking right.
Sir, he had meetings later that week with the NSA, probably to spy on us more. And then he got spied on by the highest level possible, Vegas PD. He even had meetings scheduled later that week with the FBI. But he met him earlier, apparently. So they caught him, they confronted him, And he was like, oh, I didn't know her age. And it said 15 on her profile. He's like, yeah, I can't read numbers. They're like, why are you in Vegas, buddy? You know? The profile clearly said 15, and he claims he thought it was 18. It's very unlike an Israeli to inflate the numbers. Usually they play them down. But is that not ironic? The head of Israeli cyber defense turns out to be a cyber predator? Actually not shocking at all. When you're familiar with how Israelis do self-defense, kind of predatorial, you know what I mean? In fact, we're lucky he didn't molest the whole hospital because he said Hamas was underneath it. So.
Oh my God.
This is what the
no,
Roswell
Iron
looks like.
Fuck off.
So they busted him. He basically said, well, this has been nice, but I gotta get my flight back to Israel. And the local police were like, we don't know where that is. You're being detained. And then he's like, actually, I'm El Salvadorian. They're like, get out of our country. Just kidding. The police were like, where's El Salvador? And then he's like, I'm basically Mexican. They're like, get out of the country. So Alexandrovich was basically like, I need to make a phone call. Somebody let the officers know. They're like, yeah, you can let this guy go. So the question is, like, who did he call? Ghislaine Maxwell? Better Call Saul? You know what I mean? Like, he got off very quickly. That's not a great way to say it, but they let him out. Because people are now saying, like, well, 7 other people got busted in that operation. Why do you just care about the Israeli? Because he's the only one who got away. The pastor's not going back to work on Tuesday. The messed up part is that national media is hardly even covering this story.
That is exactly.
Local Vegas media, because you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Unless you're an Israeli cyber
thing
defense
is, like,
guy.
This is not the first time this has happened. Many times, law enforcement has busted a person for pedophilia, and then someone from higher up says, you gotta let this person go back to Israel. So my thing is, if you're law enforcement or FBI, and you're complicit in this, and somebody tells you, you gotta let this pedophile go, and you just do it without resigning and sharing this story with the world, you never cared about the kids in the first place.
Amen, brother.
You literally either give...
See, this is the thing. This is one of the reasons why I would actually consider doing stand-up, as long as I was a political stand-up comedian. This right here, because quite frankly, if he got on stage and the next thing that came out of his mouth after that statement was, and oh, by the way, I'm going to run for Congress on that alone, on that policy position, I'd fucking vote for him. Because that is based as hell. Straight up. If you are an officer, an agent, or whatever else, and you let the pedophile go, you clearly didn't give a shit about the kids, or protecting the Constitution, or the law. And you know what? I'm going to run for office, because that doesn't sit well with me. So, I'm just saying, like, I can sort of understand why some stand-up comedians could be considered viable political candidates in a given thing. Now, it is 10 o'clock, but we did start late, so let's get some
up the badge and get on Joe Rogan tomorrow, or you are literally part of the whole scheme.
Yes.
You know? So at that point, you're basically Ghislaine Maxwell with a body cam. And she probably did wear a body cam, actually. So you're just Ghislaine Maxwell. And this whole time, we saw what's happening in Gaza, and we thought that Israelis don't care about kids. But apparently, some love them. Like, a bit too much, actually. A bit too much. Not your kids, our kids. America, America, America. America first. That's the oath of every Israeli pedophile. America first. So you're telling me that if a pedophile works for Israel, they have a get-out-of-jail-free card in America? Well, I guess we know what happened with Epstein.
And quite frankly, that is a very strong theory, is that there was a body double that was found dead in his cell, and that he's actually alive and well.
Sorry if that made you Mo sad.
Did you hear that? Sorry if that made you Mo sad.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Are you guys okay? Is everything good? Is everything okay? What do you mean, sure? It's great? Awesome, okay. Well, Free Palestine, yeah, of course. Well, no, I'm keep talking while let me breathe, okay? I have a couple of very unhappy looking people in here at 3:30 p.m. Okay? Yeah, it's almost sunset, guys. Perk up. On a Sunday, was that your excuse? What is that, the culture here? We just drink till we die. Fucking Saturdays. Yeah! Yeah, pretty much it! Welcome to Australia, mate! I love how your guys' city names, you don't even like fully enunciate them. Because you have like Melbourne, but you're like Melbourne. You have Brisbane, you're like Brisbane. And you have Sydney, you're like Sydney. I'm going to Perth.
I think we're going to get copyright struck, actually, because I did not interrupt this enough. And, well, actually, no, is this from? Yeah, see, this is the guy. Right? Yeah, this is probably going to get copyright struck when I put it on online. Still, we didn't get to see the hecklers, but yeah. We get the gist. Based as fuck. And Zionists and, anti-Semites, the people who actually are committing the genocide, they're the anti-Semites. They really don't like being called out on their anti-Semitism or their pedophilia or their exceptionalism for committing crimes against humanity. They just really don't like that. It is brilliant. Yes, no, love this guy. Every time I see him in Reels, I just hit play because I know I'm in for a good time. So on that note, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. This has been Worldwide Wednesdays. We covered a lot of ground. We covered, unfortunately, a lot more depressing shit than I was expecting. Because normally the depressing shit is limited to Israel committing genocide against Palestine. But now we have the blatant hypocrisy and difference of reporting being even more overt by even some of the most liberal, left-leaning, truth-seeking agencies out there, Al Jazeera, which is not reassuring at all. And of course, the fact that, China and Russia are getting friendly with North Korea and ramping up Cold War-era military parades, which is only going to destabilize the region over time. So with that point being said, I guess we will have to keep our nose to the ground on that and keep an eye on these things. I'm going to slowly start creating short-form content. Apparently, I am going to have to figure out how to use my cell phone or turn this into sideways. And I'm going to try and do some more content to help drive traffic to the stream so that we can have a growing, thriving community so that when I run for Congress and president, we can hit the ground running rather than, hit the ground tripping, falling, and scraping our elbows. So on that note, I will see you all tomorrow, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, for Recap Thursdays. We will cover whatever has happened over the past 24 hours or whatever we didn't get to on Tuesday or today. So with that being said, y'all have a great rest of your night. See you tomorrow. President Samuel Ronan, out.